Hello, hello, welcome, my lovely people, all of you internet denizens out there, all of you wonderful, wonderful people. And today's an awesome day. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing fantastic. I've been really looking forward to today because today is the second part of the one of the Dillahunty debacles. Not because of Dillahunty, but and yesterday, just talking in the comments, and I want to say hello to Robin and hello to Daryl. It's good for you to join us. Hello to Iconicry, Iconicry. Um, yeah, you can admit staying on topic and still be correct, but it's kind of something that you sort of, when you go into a debate, you're kind of expected to discuss the topic. So I think that yes, you still could be correct. However, it's very weird to have such so we're discussing the Howard Howard Stirrup, and I kind of mentioned it in the after show. I didn't stay in the after show long, but I did mention it. um Debating Howard is a surreal experience because you'll get onto one topic and he'll change topic, like from you'll start to discuss, hey, evidence for God, and he'll bring up something like this kind of thing, and you'll start to discuss it, and he'll just he'll just change to something else, and then when you start to discuss that, he'll change back to something else, and then back to the original. Like he basically just shuffles around this deck of cards that he's got, so you can never actually talk to him about anything. Um, and I guess the other annoying thing about Howard, and he didn't do it too much to Matt, but he still did it, and he makes signals in the background, which is always sort of very immature, and I think it's very sort of I don't know. It's just, anyway, we're not here to discuss that debate. We're here to discuss another dumpster fire, which is the second part, which I did promise that I would do on Matt Dillahunty versus Bob. Just a few things of housekeeping, actually, while it sort of occurs to me. I am going on to Maya's stream, which is sort of Science Sunday, and that is on the tomorrow night. So Sunday night, I'm going to be on Maya's for Science Sunday. I can't remember the name of it. It's something Science Sunday. It's terrible. It's terrible. I can never remember the name of it, and it's absolutely terrible. It's my bad. But it's really I love the show. Usually Tapioca Weasel's on there. Maya, of course, is fantastic, and it should be a really good time. I think they've got sort of a. I'm not sure if he's a flat earther or something. I kind of I don't want to watch it. Not the show. I want to watch the show, but I don't want to watch the video they've lined up for me because I really want a Bad Science Sunday, of course. Bad Science Sunday. So I love Bad Science Sunday. It's basically people who are scientifically minded going through some claims, and that should be a really good time because you know how much I love the flat Earth zaniness. It's gonna hurt my head, and yeah. So if you like seeing me suffer, sure, sure, and I love you too. Yeah, so I'm just gonna start this up and we'll get started. Is there anything else I got to go through? No, not really. I've kind of been I've kind of got something coming on a gaming channel that I do. So if you are interested, I do have a gaming channel called Beast of the Mark. That sort of I started up. I'm really just getting the hang of doing that, though. I'm not really paying that much attention towards it. And I do have a couple of room rumbles that I've got to bring out. If you do enjoy them, stay tuned. They're going to be coming. There they are. Yeah, so this is just before we ended last time. So if you haven't seen the last one, feel free to watch it. It's basically the first half of this. It gets a lot more feisty from this point on. It goes downhill in a major way, especially the Q&A section. Boy, is that downhill. But I'll just get it started. I don't think there's anything else I've got to come through, but I want to thank everybody for joining me. I really enjoy doing these, and I really it was interesting last time. I really do enjoy commenting on these. And I didn't realize I had so much to say on this one. I thought it would just be just a A few comments here and there. It wasn't. There was so much to unpack from this guy. It was incredible. And I am running behind in my debates. I've still got to see another couple that people have been recommending to see if I can do something on them. But join me for some madness, for some Bob madness. Oh, and the other thing is let's give our best wishes to Ember, my usual co-host, who is still out there traveling, journeying, and journey well, my friend. If you want, go drop by his channel. I might provide a link and drop by his channel and see if we can just give a hey. Hope you're traveling well, because we do. Well, I miss him. Let's just say we miss him. Okay, let's just say that. I'm going to speak for you for 1 second and say that we miss Ember. I do really miss him on this show. Hey, Sunflower. Yeah, good mate. And hello to Beamsy, one of my buds, Beamsy. Robin. Yeah, I killed Earl. Welcome back. Always good to see you. And Sumami is back. Good to see you. So let's get this started and let's see where Bob's going from here.
He's just implied that it's bad. He's just suggested that it could be bad, but he hasn't demonstrated that it's bad. So let me ask you, Matt, are secular humanists, and you being the representative of them here in this debate, are they in favor of surrogacy?
Okay, so this is where we ended last time. Basically about where we ended. The surrogacy thing that came from nowhere and really has no real importance to debate. Look, secular humanism doesn't have a position on surrogacy. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that surrogacy is fine. I don't see any problem with people being surrogates for other people if they're willing to use their body for that. I don't get why that's bad. He seems to think that because you can't have children in a purely natural way, because I mean surrogacy is still a natural way. It's just, okay, maybe he's got a different idea. Anyway, because you can't have children in a traditional way, then you treat them like handbags and they're just something that you don't care about. Whereas someone who can't have children and has to use a surrogate, they probably will really care for that child. I don't get the connection between surrogacy and not caring for your children. I don't understand that.
I have no idea, because as I've said several times, I'm not the representative of surrogacy. Whatever shtick you think you're accomplishing by constantly trying to do this, you look incredibly goofy. So what you're suggesting, and I think there may actually be some case here to be made, but when you say things like you don't have a right to a child, but you think
okay, that's a fair point, Samami. You bring up a fair point, and that is a good reason. Yes, low income women, but we can have surrogates without exploit. Like if you want to, I'm really thinking of more of people that are volunteer surrogates for friends and things like that. Like if you want to sort of put down a law that says, hey, people can't be paid to be surrogates, then you can stop that exploitation. Sure. No, I get you. But to sort of say all surrogates are bad is just a blanket statement, which I don't think is very nuanced at all. But yes, you do have a good point. Look, Sunflower, look, this is supposed to be a debate about which is better for society, and it's just gone down to abortion and surrogacy. It really is. Bob's not actually addressing the topic. He wanted an abortion debate, and he's basically cornering it into an abortion debate. It's quite unfair on the other interlocutor that he's not actually addressing the topics.
a child has a right to a parent, something that may not necessarily be possible. First of all, the way we go about establishing rights basically is to say you have all rights until we limit them, and we need to limit them for good reason. The other way to do it is to say you have no rights until we specifically grant them. But that is an incredibly stupid way to try to go about it, because you would be sitting here granting rights constantly. Instead, you start with maximal rights and you limit it. So yes, under the law in the United States and other places, they do have a right to seek a surrogate, to have a child. That is a right that is protected in the United States and in many other countries. It would be a right that we would need to limit if you could actually show that there's something wrong with it. When you're pointing out that I didn't say exactly why Christianity was wrong with its take on abortion, it's because I was pointing out that your argument was fallacious, not that Christianity was necessary.
Yeah, I think you're right, Robin. I think you're absolutely right. He doesn't want surrogates for gay people having kids. He did say that gay people would be better than no parents at all. He did make that concession that they'd be better for no parents at all. But I think that yeah, it was sort of very forced as, oh, well, it's better than no parents at all and being in the adoption system. But he's obviously making it clear that he prefers the nuclear family kind of thing. I don't see why. It's very strange. I don't see why.
Really wrong. Once your argument is fallacious, you have to start over. You don't get to just say, Matt didn't prove me wrong. We've done that over and over again for the Matt didn't disprove God. It doesn't work there either.
That's time. And the last minute, before we go into our Q&A, Bob, 1 minute, and we will do our closing statements after our Q&A, just because that sometimes gets some new thoughts.
Well, and plus, sort of Matt has definitely pointed out the monumental harm that religion has done to society and to societies in the past. You don't get to just say, hey, well, there were all these things that the churches had to change their policy on because it was clearly bad for society, and all of these problems with these churches doing this and doing that, and all of the varying different churches with all their takes, like sort of Southern Baptist and things like that. But you've now got to prove that everything about Christianity is wrong. No, it doesn't work like that. The church has had a history of doing really bad stuff. You can't just ignore that and say, well, it's still, you've got to prove it's bad now. Matt's actually given he gave a, but the problem is that you didn't address his opening. The problem is that when Bob did the rebuttal, none of it was rebutting Matt's points. So he actually brought up why secular humanism is better than Christianity. You just didn't address it, Bob. And then you're saying, well, he's got to prove it. No, he's brought up his points. You didn't address them, but you've got to sort of make this song and dance about how he has to prove it. It's really weird.
To the surface. So 1 minute, Bob, to answer that, and we'll kick it to Q&A.
And I think, aren't the closing supposed to be before Q&A? I'm asking a clarifying question, you smug, obnoxious.
What did he do here? I didn't catch this in the live, because I saw this live. What did he do here?
Bob, 1 minute, and we will do our closing statements after our Q&A, just because that sometimes gets some new thoughts to the surface. So 1 minute, Bob, to answer that, and we'll kick it to Q&A.
And I think, aren't the closing supposed to be before Q&A? I'm asking a clarifying question, you smug.
Oh, he's sort of, oh, it's supposed to be my turn. Look, he's just asking, dude. I mean, yeah, I don't think he should be calling Bob names. I wouldn't do that. But, dude, you can't just act outraged because somebody's asked the moderator a question. But you know, why Matt's calling him so? Yeah, I don't know why Matt's getting angry about it though. I mean, so my opinion is if Bob wants to act like a douchebag, let him act like a douchebag. Like, you know, go for it. Enjoy.
Obnoxious, impatient dude.
Oh, shut up, you child. Put your dummy back in your mouth.
Don't make me.
Hold on, fellas. We're going to try to
Give
keep
over, you
this.
little child.
We're going to try to keep this.
Yes, I'm the child. Go ahead.
Yes,
you liar.
yes, you are.
Yeah, we're all adult men in this room. Let's just try to keep it up here with our level of dialogue. Okay, so 1 minute, and to respond to what he just said there. If we can keep it on the subject, and then we're going to go into the Q&A.
Okay, so I'm happy to let the audience decide.
Yeah, so that exchange was just sort of why it's getting to that level is beyond me. I don't think sort of name calling is ever going to help your case in a debate. I really don't think so. If somebody wants to act sort of in that way, I guess you can point it out, but you can do it without name calling. You can do it without sort of telling them. You can say, hey, I don't know why Bob's got a problem with me asking the moderator about the format of the debate, but obviously he can't, when he wants to talk, he wants his time in the sun. And I think Bob just being, oh, well, you're asking the moderator a question. Like, where's the charity in all of this? You talk about being charitable. Why doesn't Bob allow Matt to ask, hey, I thought the closings were before the Q&A, or, he's got a question about the format, or after the Q&A. Why Bob has to go, oh, he's just asking about the format, dude. He's not even, it's not even concerning you. It's really weird.
Whether I've made a fallacious point. My line of argument is to demonstrate that humanism...
Yeah, I guess, no, I see a sunflower, but I do see Beamsies as well. I can't, so I acknowledge that your opinion, Sunflower, but I've seen you throw absolute dummy spits as well. So hey, and we're all human. Like, I get you, we're all human, but maybe sunflower, he without sin can throw the first stone. Maybe, you think?
Does not give us guidance on key matters of life and death, of key matters of importance, that it contradicts its own ethics in allowing people to have, saying that it's in favor of human rights while denying the rights of the child, and being, whilst not responsible for, but whilst being an apologist for one of the largest mass murders that has ever occurred in human history. Because, as it states in its manifesto,
no, it's not a mass murder. Murder's a legal term. So see, this is the kind of language that he uses, killing children and mass murder and all of this kind of stuff to refer to a medical procedure. He wants this debate to be about abortion. This is what he's talking about. He's talking about abortion. If he wanted an abortion debate, he should have asked for an abortion debate. I completely agree with Matt on that one. He is not addressing what's better for society. He's addressing what he thinks to be a big problem in society. That's fine, but make the debate about that. Like, on the flip side, I think Matt should bring up some things about the way that churches have made society worse and sort of pushed back against that. Like, because people like Bob cannot accept other religions in their society. They said as much. He said as much. He said, hey, I think there should be two power systems within the country, and that should be a secular government and an ecumenical council. So he is talking about a theocracy because you have one religion having power within that system. I mean, look at other theocracies like Iran and things like that. They still have a president. They just have an ecumenical. Well, it's not ecumenical because it's not Christian, but a council of sort of religious leaders, kind of thing. What focus on that? Like, what makes you think A, that's going to work? B, it's not going to be destabilizing because of the amount of Muslims and Jews and Buddhists and Hindus that are going to be disenfranchised by that decision. It's terrible for society. The whole idea that all of these religious issues are going to be solved by putting one religion in charge is ludicrous. Somebody has to be completely divorced from reality if you think that putting one religion in charge of everything is going to solve religious tension and issues between them.
It's in favor of abortion. Now, you can decide whether I'm making a fallacious argument, people that are watching this. I don't feel that Matt's commentary on the debate has any weight at all. But what I did see is...
Well, you didn't address... Bob hasn't listened to a thing that he said. Like, I actually played his opening in full because it was a fantastic opening. It really outlined the superiority of secular moral systems and the things that Christianity has gotten wrong in the past. And let's be clear, Christianity is now playing catch up to try and, like the Catholic Church and places like that, which I think Bob is Catholic. I think so. I don't know if he's a sedevangelist, somebody that doesn't think that the Second Vatican was actually legitimate. Sedevangelist, I think it's called. They're basically Catholics that think that the Catholic Church has gone astray, which is a weird position, but that's where they're at. I don't know if that's the case, but the Catholic Church is playing catch up, trying to bring itself into line with the rest of the moral code of secular society, because things like burning people at the stake, like sort of embracing these really nationalistic and really horrible things, they're really bad. And the Catholic Church has to do apology after apology after apology for the things that they've done, like preventing contraception in Africa, and therefore exacerbating the AIDS epidemic and things like this, right? Things that it has done that are absolutely gratuitously horrible. So they've had to start to apologize. And I don't doubt that evangelical places will have to do the same at some point in the future, saying, hey, we're sorry for hassling gay people and things like that. But they've got the advantage. They're not one central church like the Vatican is.
Is that he made a lot of commentary and he didn't make a lot of argument.
Okay.
He did. You just didn't listen to them. You didn't listen to the arguments. You didn't rebut the arguments. Like, okay, I make an argument. I'm saying, hey, here is why secular humanism, and this is what it believes. This is why it's better. This is all of the things. And here's what the Catholic Church, or the churches in general, here's what they implement. It's why it's bad. It relies on dogma. It relies on somebody having a idea of the word of God, even though they all vary. He went through all of this. Right, he went through. You think that you have a direct line to what a God wants. You all disagree on what God wants. How do you evaluate what God wants is good or bad for society? What if what God wants is bad for society? You didn't address any of that after his opening. Your rebuttal was more of your own points. So he brought up why it's bad for society, because religion is not necessarily geared towards society. It's geared towards a God. Whatever those people think that a God wants, that's what they'll do. Whereas secular humanism, whatever is good for society and good for the individuals within that society is what it will do. So he didn't address any of that and sort of want to say, oh, well, he didn't bring up any points. Yeah, he did. You just didn't address them, Bob.
Let's kick it in the Q&A, everybody. Hopefully, everybody hanging out in the live chat has found this lively,
this is where it goes
interesting
downhill.
discussion, and we got some good thoughts out on the floor. Hit the like button, hit the share, and put it into those.
I want to compliment Ryan, the moderator, though, for stepping in when it started to get name calling and stuff. Like it's a hard thing to do, is sort of step in and say, hey, that's it. Let's keep it on a respectable level. He stepped in and sort of said, hey, no. Sometimes I feel like these debates, sometimes they just let the name calling go on for way too long. And full credit to him, he was, he stepped in and sort of said, hey, let's not. Anglican Church, really? Anglicans are usually pretty reasonable, to be honest with you. Anglicans usually aren't that bad. That offshoot must have shot very far off, quite frankly. I don't know. Yeah, so being a moderator is hard. Being a moderator is really hard. Look, to be honest with you, I've moderated before, and I'm a moderator on the Modern Day Debate Discord server. And quite frankly, you're doing well as a moderator when everybody thinks you're unfair. Like everybody from every side thinks you're being unfair. That's when you know you're being completely fair, because everybody always thinks you're being unfair. So if, the atheists think you're being unfair and the Christians think you're being unfair, you're probably being really fair about it.
Contentious spaces. Matt, you got your hand up. What's going on?
Well, yes, this is what I was trying to clarify, because now it's twice you said we're going to Q&A. My understanding, according to the format, is that there would be 5-minute closings, and then we would go into the Q&A.
Oh,
that's what I was trying to clarify, that Bob wanted to throw a hissy fit about.
Okay, sorry. I'll be darned. Yes, it does say here 5 minutes.
Yeah, he didn't need to add that. That's the thing. Like, yes, he did throw a hissy fit about it. Yes, Matt, he definitely did. No, you're not wrong, okay, but maybe not the best place to throw it in, because all it's going to do is start another fight. Yeah. But, obviously Matt's frustrated. It must be frustrating to, and I know this, it's frustrating to be told, hey, we're going to debate this subject. And your opponent doesn't really want to debate that They want to debate something else that's only tangentially related. So I mentioned the last absolute mess that happened with Matt Dillahunty and Howard Stirrup. I've debated Howard before. And, you go into it, and I think it was about dragons or something like that. Are dinosaurs dragons? I think that it was a while ago, and quite frankly, I've desperately tried to forget it every day since. But it was one topic, and he went into Dracula and the Illuminati kind of stuff, and you know, these child abuse rings, and you know, all of this. And I mean, flat Earth. Really, he wanted to debate flat Earth, and it's sort of like you could have debated that. Like you just had to ask. You know, like it's this weird thing that people get where they want to. And I don't know if it's a tactic. Maybe they think, okay, well, I'm going to challenge him to this sort of societal impact debate, but I'm going to blindside him because he won't have prepared for my abortion arguments, or my my sort of arguments on um, this other topic. You know, oh, we're doing dragons and dinosaurs. Well, he won't have prepared for the Illuminati. Nobody expects the Illuminati. Like, seriously, I afterwards I said, like, to Howard, I went, like, that was like, mate, you were supposed to be debating this topic, and you would not stay on topic. You wouldn't. Apparently he hasn't learnt, because Matt quit after he again would not stay on topic. He just debated him over what was the topic? It was the existence of God, and the one that Matt really wanted out of these three topics was the existence of the devil kind of thing. Like, so does the devil exist? And I mean, he went from flat Earth to circles to just a load of nonsense. I'm Rick. I actually came here to give you a debate suggestion when you are debate insane people. Well, you know, I are debate insane people a lot. I'm Rick. I are.
Closings. I usually do them at the end, but yeah, we got a different format here today, guys. So let's do the 5-minute closings. Yeah, who wants to go first? I should ask. You guys have both been kind of champions, so let's. Who wants to go first for the closing?
Oh, what the heck? I'll go first every time. Why not?
5 minutes on.
Yeah. So the comment that Matt's referring to here is, in a formal debate, what you'll do is you'll bookend. So basically, in a formal debate, the first person opens, right? So the opening is done by usually the affirmative, and this is formal debate where there are strict rules and it's all timed, and you know, I quite like doing them because they are, you have to adapt to that style. They're challenging, a lot more challenging than, you know, just sitting on a channel and saying whatever, like some people do. But you have an opening and then the rebuttal, and it's all timed and everything like that. But the person who closes will be the person to go first in the closing will be the person who didn't go first in the opening. So the opening gets to go. The other person has the other opening. Usually the negative will have their opening, and at the end, the opening will the opening guy will do the last word kind of thing, because it's just about impressions. So the first person that starts, they get their opening. The other person gets to lead next, and that means their impression. I think Matt's just a bit frustrated that they're not like. I mean, this is sort of a level of it's not structured in the slightest. Okay. No, I'm happy to get your advice, mate. It's all good. You know, suggest away. I'm good. You know, go for it. I'm sorry, I'm Rick. I don't mean to. It was just worded a bit funny. That's cool. I think everybody knew what you meant. Church of England to more Catholic ideals. Yeah, okay. It's a rabbit hole. Uh-oh. Rabbit hole for a Christian on MDD? Really? Wouldn't have guessed it. Beamsy. Yeah, so it's just, I think Matt sort of he had an idea about a structure. It's not happening. I think he wanted to have his closing after the questions to be able, because there wasn't a lot said by Bob in all of this, right? So basically, he's like, abortion bad, mass murder of millions, all these dog whistles to Christians, you know, who are against abortion, just pro-life dog whistles, anti-surrogate, anti-gay dog whistles, trans dog whistles, well, anti-trans dog whistles, I should say. He just really arguments from emotion I make tons of typos, mate. Don't worry about that. Yeah. So I think that he wants to go into the Q&A for people to bring stuff up. I think so, Matt. I kind of, although I wouldn't take his same approach, I can understand his frustration. I've been frustrated by the level of person that's come on my encounters in modern day debate. After the debate I had with Ross, that was 2 hours of a man shouting at me about stuff, just random things about myself, I really was wandering around saying, is this the best that Christianity has to offer? Is this it? Like, I really looked at why I was frustrated, and I think the frustration was born of a fear that I can't get into a debate and have a decent conversation, like a real a real back and forth intellectual discussion about what somebody thinks and what I think. There's a tendency to sort of go, well, why am I doing this if all I'm going to have is just some person shout at me about their presuppositions, kind of thing. It's really obnoxious and really horrible, and I don't see very good Christian debaters around the place. I don't. I'd hope that Bob would have brought something that is better than, hey, I'm going to put all of these statements out here, 20 or so statements in a rebuttal. You can't address all of them, so I've won by default. It's absolutely ridiculous. Hi, Bug. So yeah, I completely understand Matt's frustration. And for me, I mean, I'm not going to speak for anybody else. For me, it was born of a fear that debate would just be an absolute breakdown of any kind of intellectual pursuit and become a carnival show. That was my fear. I just thought, is that what I'm going to get in debates? Just somebody being just essentially a clown. Yeah, yo, hooligan, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Absolute champ. Thank you so much, your hooligan. And I know that your hooligan is Canadian, but that hooligan sounds so Australian to me. Maybe it's a cultural similarity. Maybe, not sure. I have to talk. I forgot to mention that the other day. Yeah, hooligan. Yeah, hooligan. Yeah, no, look, we can have a discussion if you want to, Freak. I'm more than happy to have a discussion. And this is the thing. It's why my channel also includes the other stuff like Proofread and the Royal Room Rumble, because I do get in there. Oh, thank you so much, you hooligan. I feel like I'm insulting you. Thank you so much, you hooligan. You're an absolute hooligan. Well, the hooligan has given 10 Mark Reed gift memberships, so have yours on and get yours fast, because they will run out really fast. But thank you so much, I really appreciate it. And you're not wrong. Yeah, mate, you're not wrong. Yeah. Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate it. Now I'm going to have to make my thank you list. No, Beamsy, no banner. Anyway, yeah, so and what do we do when I'm experiencing frustration, and so identifying that fear and saying, okay, well, that is a fear. Is it reasonable? It's not. There will become people that will have discussions. It's just this period of time we seem to be having this, well, if I can't beat the atheists, I'm gonna just sidetrack, insult, make really spurious arguments, strawman them, have these real, very, very sort of immature arguments about it. And that seems to be a trend. But really, if we look at it realistically, that trend has been around before. I mean, Matt ran into Ten Bruggencate, who just brought up clips of him and acted sort of in a really disingenuous way. So, yeah, I think that you know, this will pass. I think that some people will step up. I had a very good conversation with somebody during a tag team. I think it was me and Ember against a couple of people, and it was a good conversation. It was very good.
Floor.
Cool. So I gave an opening. The debate was supposed to be, is Christianity or secular humanism, what's best for society?
Yeah.
My opening specifically gave a case for secular humanism in that its foundation is about what's best for society, and that Christianity isn't necessarily about what's best for society, and that the aspects of Christianity or any other religion that would be consistent with that would be included within secular humanism. For example, whatever the correct position is on abortion and when life begins, that would be a part of secular humanism.
Right, and this is the point, that if Christianity has anything good about it, we'll adopt it. Because if it benefits society and individuals, then secular humanism isn't opposed to it. And you can sort of, and I think Bob leveraged the case, well, you're just, you know, it's just Christianity with light. No, it's not. It takes from everywhere. That's the beauty of it. If Buddhism has something good, if Taoism has something good, if Hinduism has something good, it will take from it. If traditional Greek philosophy has something good, like, this is the thing, you can't just basically co-opt it for Christianity, because it's not based on Christianity. Its foundation, as Matt just said, is what benefits individuals and society. It's humanism. So, you know, this whole idea that you get to co-opt a movement just because it's borrowed or it's taken something from your worldview is absurd, because Christianity took from the Jewish paradigm. So does that make it Jewish? No, of course not. Of course it doesn't. That borrowed from a lot of different places. It borrowed you know, from all over the place. Mostly the earlier Mesopotamian things. The Ark is taken from Atrahasis and the Epic of Gilgamesh. Does that make it Mesopotamian? No, it doesn't. That's ridiculous.
I then
gave
my rebuttal, going through the various things that Bob said. I couldn't hit all of them because there was also a 12-point about it transforming lives, and then the dignity, children, sexual ethics, women's dignity, property to people. There's so much to go through.
Yeah, and that was by design. He basically did a scattershot. There's no way you could address, and it wasn't 12, it was 20 individual points. I probably would have focused on one or two and pointed out that there's, like, right afterwards, there's no way you can go through all of those, and it wasn't a rebuttal. It wasn't a rebuttal to anything Matt said. Even if you brought it up in an introduction, it would have been scattershot. But in a rebuttal, to bring up sort of 20 new points, that is ridiculous. That is just being really, really dishonest about the way that you're engaging with somebody.
And then Bob's rebuttal was a 20-point rebuttal to some straw version of secular humanism that exists elsewhere that wasn't a part of my opening. I don't know if people realize this, but in a debate, you are here to present the case and to address what your opponent's position is as presented there. Not what you think their position is, not what you think their position is from some other debate, not what they've said elsewhere. So, shockingly, I'm not the subject of this debate, and neither is what my personal take is. Only thing that's the subject here is my defense of secular humanism, which is why I stayed on the topic with that. Going through.
So Bob's not sort of given any reason why Christianity would be better. He sort of said he's basically strawman secular humanism. I mean, he basically leveraged this idea that secular humanism is devaluing women and it's killing this and you know, sort of, I think he leveraged being totalitarian and like these ridiculous claims. He doesn't show how any of them are true. He doesn't address how he knows that. He just makes these claims. I think he called them premises, I believe. Was it premises or no? It was theses. So a thesis is a proposition, basically. It's a but all they are claims. He just claimed all this stuff. Matt couldn't possibly address them all, and then just moved on like he'd proven them true. He didn't prove a single one of them true. He didn't demonstrate any of them. He just made that claim. But it's not designed to basically he's not debating. He's dog whistling for people. That's what he's doing. He's just going, okay, to the people that already believe it, here's this claim that you already believe. Isn't it good that I made that claim? That's all he's doing.
Through the secular humanist manifestos, talking about the advantages and benefits of it. Now, if your assertion is that no guidance is better than some guidance, that's fallacious, because some guidance could be bad. Telling people that the afterlife should be a focus, that their relationship with a God should be their focus, if there is no God, that's all bad advice. So,
well, I mean, it's bad advice if it's untrue, and I think it's untrue. It may very well be good advice if it's true, but it's not good for society, right? Because even if that is true, that the afterlife is what you should be focused on, that focus on the afterlife will detract you from making this society and this life a better one. It doesn't matter if, like, for the proposition of the debate, it doesn't matter if it's true or untrue. And it may be a good thing for your afterlife if you focus on that during your life. But even if that is true and your afterlife is going to be better, it's still going to come at the cost of this society. So, if the proposition of the debate is which is better for which is the right thing to do, for instance, you might have a point, but you don't. But this is the whole thing that Matt's saying, is that even if, you can't dedicate yourself to getting the best afterlife and expect your life to get better. It's not going to. It's just not going to, because the more you focus on an afterlife, the less you're paying attention to your actual life.
the fact that secular humanism doesn't expressly get into the details of what the position should be on abortion or other issues is not a problem, because it begins by acknowledging that, which I also included in my opening statement, that these are not a list of specific positions, but are about values and putting things first, about freedom and autonomy. Now, what did Bob bring up? Well, he wanted to spend a lot of time on abortion, and he tried to spend some time on trans rights. And while I mentioned abortion in my opening, I was specifically reading the one passage from the Humanist Manifesto that addressed what they wrote in that version that they thought should be rights. I also pointed out which things in the manifesto I agreed or disagreed with, because I was trying to be an honest representative of both what my position is and what the Secular Humanist Manifesto says. For Bob, that's me saying, well, if it suits Matt, he'll say it's his position, and when it doesn't suit him, it's secular humanism. He's portraying it as if I'm being dishonest here, when really this is the humility and honesty that is prevalent both within secular humanism.
Yeah, and we can say, hey, there's probably stances that the Secularist Humanist Council takes that are possibly wrong. If we find out it's bad for humanity, they will change their minds. That's the whole point. On one hand, you have a dogmatic assertion that this is good, this is bad, can't change. And that's the flaw. It can't change. Like Catholicism, it's got to be dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century. That things that it used to do are no longer good because it's not good for society. Like witch burnings and these spectral evidence in courts, we no longer allow it. But the church had to be dragged to that position, kicking and screaming every inch of the way, because the way that they have done things in the past doesn't change. Because once you have a dogmatic position that what you're doing is ordained by God, you can't change it. It's unchangeable. You have to abide by that position eternally, and that's the problem. I would have loved for him to go to something like, is asteroid mining good or bad? As I said in the last episode, no Christian can tell you about that without leaning on something other than their Christian morality, because the Bible and Christianity does not cover events in the future. There is no passages in the Bible you can leverage into, well, should we explore space? Should we colonize other planets? Should we allow the cloning? Should we do any of these things? There's nothing in the Bible that's going to tell you that.
And within science. Science doesn't pretend to know things, and I'm not going to pretend to speak on behalf of any or all secular humanists other than myself. If that humility gets written off as, oh, this is a big problem, it shows you the top-down, dogmatic, authoritarian view that is prevalent when you toss out sound epistemology and go with the narrative as the source of truth.
Yeah, and he's right. Bob did basically say, we've got the better narrative, therefore we know what's true, which is an absurd position. And it's a position that I'm hearing from theists a lot. Hey, we've got the narrative that sort of explains the most things. No, you don't. And it doesn't make it true. I could have the best explanation ever. It doesn't make it true. It's a horrible idea that you're relying on your story to, sort of, oh, but people like the story. I don't care if they love the story. I don't care if the story gives them warm fuzzies all the way into their heart. It doesn't matter. That isn't what makes something true. This is the whole thing. It's kind of well, if it makes me feel good, it's true.
There is bad guidance. There is bad guidance on human rights and owning people as property. There is bad guidance on equality between the gender that comes from the Bible, that many Christians have set aside in favor of a newer version of Christianity, perhaps a better version of Christianity, that is very consistent with many of the principles of secular humanism.
Yeah. And that's what I was getting at, that sort of religions have sort of played catch up, that in order to survive, they've had to accept that they cannot stick to the morality that they had, even 100 years ago. They've got to abandon that. Because if they didn't, they would not survive. They would be torn down as institutions, absolutely torn down as institutions. But, there's always the occasional Bob that wants to start it all back up again because his thinking is, well, you can't change morality to fit with what people need.
Secular humanism isn't pretending to know everything from the start. It's recognizing that we are all on a journey, that Bob has a God that he'd like to point to for his answers. Daniel Hikikachu has a God that he'd like to point to for his answers. I don't believe in either one of them, but the three of us have to share space. And I'd much rather share space with Bob than Daniel, despite him thinking that he's just going to keep representing what my position is and getting it wrong. And the reason for that.
Yeah, so Matt doesn't like Daniel. I don't know many people that do like Daniel. I think he's incredibly dangerous. I think he's a dangerous individual. I think that he makes a lot of noises. I would be flabbergasted if Daniel Hikikachu wasn't on every watch list that ever existed because of what he says. The man advocates for the killing of non-Muslims everywhere. It's absolutely catastrophically harmful to everybody, except Muslims, of course. This is the thing. Like, Daniel advocates for a theocratic government as well, just like Bob. But they're going to disagree on what that theocratical thing is. How do we sort that out? How do we come to an agreement? We're not. You two will fight until you ruin the entire world. That's what you'll do. You'll fight over it to the detriment of everybody around you. At least with secularism, we can say, hey, this is going to be based upon the well-being of everybody, including both sides. And your religion won't enter it. That's it.
Is obvious when you look at the subjects. Bob would be okay with gay parents adopting because that's preferable to kids being in the system. But also listen to how he talks about the people who seek out a surrogate, people who are childless, and they seek out a surrogate, that they're trying to come up with their designer family and treating children as a handbag. That is a bald assertion. That is a judgment and assessment of people that Bob does not know. And he's propping it up as if it's a shutdown for secular.
It's a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle. That's all it is. It's a dog whistle to say, hey, surrogates are giving gay people children. It should be stopped at once. He's just trying to appeal to his own audience. That's all he's doing. He's basically just giving a big old dog whistle to his audience to say, hey, you're ignoring like the people that, for some reason, God made infertile that just really want a child. And maybe they have a friend that can sort of be a surrogate for them. They're not looking for a designer child. They're just looking for a child. And what about a gay couple that really want a child and will become fantastic providers? You're lumping everybody into the same bucket. And I kind of warn Christians not to do that, because if we lumped every Christian into the same bucket, then it would be, you know, and I've sort of talked about this before, actually. One of my room rumbles coming up, I talk about this, that Christians are vilified too, sure. And they are. Like, I know that some people will find that contentious or get angry, but not all Christians are that bad. Most of them just lead normal lives. They don't try to denigrate everybody and keep themselves. Look, I got no problem with that. You want to believe some wacky stuff? Sure, you go for it. I don't, you know, as long as you're not using those beliefs to impede other people's lives. Okay, so but a lot of them do get lumped all into one category, and they find it horrible, which is it's insane to me, because the Christians that are saying, oh, but you're just lumping me with the Southern Baptist Church and the, you know, the theocrats in Iran and all of this, you're doing the same to others. Like, let's stop doing this. Let's stop just lumping everybody in with their labels and sort of saying, hey, that's bad. Let's evaluate individuals on what they're saying. So the whole idea of Christians getting victimized, you're not being victimized when people stop you from victimizing others. So stop with this narrative. It's not good. It's not good. It's in fact horrible. So yeah, I do have a room rumble coming up where I talk about it with some Christians. But you know, here's Bob sort of saying, hey, let's just dog whistle to my audience because we're going to lump all gay people as wanting a designer baby, or all people that ever go through surrogacy as designer baby. Yeah.
Humanism, when it isn't what I talked about and isn't a reality.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much, Matt, for your closing statement. We're going to kick the 5 minutes over to Bob. Thanks for being here, everybody. And Bob, the floor is all yours.
So I do have a pre-written statement, but
oh, he has a pre-written statement. What a surprise! Like, why'd you even come to the debate? Why didn't you just send in the videos of you reading out your pre-written statements? Because you're not addressing anything that Matt's got to say.
I feel obliged to just come off it slightly, just to point out that I'm criticising secular humanism as seen in the manifestos. I know from watching Matt's debates that if you criticise him or his statements are, he'll swap feet between saying, well, this is me, not secular humanism, or this is secular humanism, as is best for him in the debate. And that is why I go after the manifestos. And people can judge for themselves. Go over my 20 theses, go and read the manifesto.
Yeah, but the manifestos doesn't say any of the stuff that you're saying. You're making claims about it that just are not true. Oh, hello. A super chat from, I'm so sorry, I'm going to butcher this. I am so sorry. Aspor Loki Runarsson. Oh, that is such a cool name. I wish I had a cool name. I'm a little jealous, but that is hard for me to say. So maybe I'm not that jealous. Is that Icelandic? Iceland? Icelandic krona, maybe? What is ISK? You've got me curious now. Oh, sorry, I pushed the button again. And they say, just a little Kashmir fan in university. Oh, thank you so much. Probably best save it for your studies, though. I don't. Yes, it is the Icelandic krona. Okay, beautiful. Wow, I can't believe I actually guessed that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Iceland is cool. I think Aurora is a national treasure. She is amazing and just so amazing to watch. Somebody so herself. I'll just say that. I don't know a huge amount. I saw the Björk show a little while back. Absolutely wonderful and beautiful. Björk is a national treasure as well. Yeah, lots of love, absolutely. But thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, no, Samami, a lot of people do want their genetics to be carried on. That's basically, you're sort of saying, oh, why would they have IVF instead of adopt? Some people do want their genetics carried on. I'm not one of those people, but that is kind of their choice, kind of thing. I wish more people would adopt, yes, but that's their choice.
And decide for yourself whether there's actually a criticism of secular humanism being made. Children do have rights.
No, he's relying on people not actually looking up secular humanism in the slightest, and didn't want to engage to it. All he wants to do is just dog whistle to Is she Norwegian? Is she? Have I got it completely wrong? Oh, you're right. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. Well, I know Björk is Icelandic, so I got half right. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's terrible.
Rights, and those rights are not to be used as handbags swapped because people desire.
Again, the dog whistling. This is not representative of any kind of reality. It's just a narrative that you have put up and your dog whistling to, so your followers can go, yeah, yeah, designer children, boo.
Something that they can't have otherwise. Now I'm going to return to my written statement. So in conclusion, the choice between Christianity and liberal secular humanism is akin to you being asked to wager a bet between two cross-country rally cars, one called Credo, backed by its team, the church, a pedigree racer that has already accomplished itself over 2,000 years of competition.
Pedigree racer that's left a trail of destruction behind it, in actual fact. Look, a pedigree racer. Like, listen to the language that he's using. It is so emotive and dog whistling language. Oh, yes, Christianity is a pedigree racer. What has Christianity actually told us about reality in the last 2,000 years? Riddle me this. What has your pedigree racer actually discovered about reality? Like, what does it actually come up with? We've got science that's taught us just about everything we know about reality, but what has Christianity actually discovered? Nothing. So it hasn't discovered anything. It hasn't, and you can sort of say, hey, it's contributed charity and things, sure. But it's also done incredible harm as well. This idea pedigree racer. Ugh.
Against famed teams like the Roman Empire, the Islamic Caliphate.
Christianity did not bring down the Roman Empire, sir. I hate to break it to you. The Islamic Caliphate, it didn't the Islamic Caliphate was really brought down by itself. It was a schism. It didn't. The Christianity didn't bring down that either.
Barbarian kingdoms, the dynasties of China and Japan, the nationalistic empires, and has outperformed them all. Not without
outperformed them all. So you're comparing a religion, right, to secular political structures or sort of empires. Well, they're not even secular. They're just empires. Like, Christian empires have fallen as well. Where's the British Empire right now, Bob? Where's the British Empire? Oh, it doesn't exist anymore. That's right. It fell apart. It broke up. It fell down, went boom. This is the stupid thing. Like, you're basically trying to compare a religion versus political structures. If you're going to go by what's lasted longer, Hinduism's lasted longer, Bob. So I'll be expecting your conversion to the pedigree racehorse that is Hinduism any day now. What a ridiculous argument.
Scratches, bruises, and crashes, granted. Some losses in the qualifying sections. It's raced over the plain.
Oh, this analogy. It's some bruises in the qualifying sections. It's not a race, Bob. It's not see who. Look, if a bad idea lasts a long time, it doesn't make it a good idea. It just doesn't. Especially when it's had to adapt because it's wrong so damn often. This is the thing. Like, he's sort of saying, oh, it's made tons of mistakes. Yeah, it has. So why is it a pedigree racehorse?
Of feudalism, gone into the valleys of plagues and disasters, pressed through the swamps of corruption, passed over the mountains of achievement. And
oh, listen to this. It's just this sort of weird narrative where he's like the mountains of corruption. You know what the highest GDP country in the world is? The Vatican, dude. because it has so much wealth and so few people live here. That's definitely keeping with Jesus's poverty message. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, prosperity gospel is obviously, but they're not true Christians, right? Then we'll use the no true Scotsman to say, hey, but they're not true Christians.
Endured the deserts of oppression and rode through the forests of civilization. Fueled by faith and reason, a fuel whose balance you need to get right for the most effective payoff. Against this pedigree is a new challenger, the car named Cogito, backed by Team Humanist.
A car named Cogito, that means think. Are you seriously objecting to us thinking in our moral system? Is this an objection? Oh, but you think in your moral system. You apply your mind to your moral system. Yeah, no joke. What's so bad about that?
You have who've largely stole and copied the design of Car Credo, minus some elements, and using an explosive new fuel called rationality.
Oh, God, the appeal to emotion that he's doing, an explosive new fuel called ration. It's not new, Bob. Rationality predates Christianity. I hate to break it to you. A new fuel called rationality. Yeah, no, the Greek philosophers, you know, circa 3000 BCE weren't using rationality. They just wrote about it. Oh, Bob, what are you doing? Seriously, this is sort of trying to, you know, this is trying to put lipstick on a pig. Your arguments are terrible and you're trying to like throw them into this analogy. It's still a pig.
Driven by an untested driver known as self-ego.
Untested driver. Humanism is not driven by self-ego. This is a straw man. This is the most dressed up straw man I've ever seen. Like, he is putting all of this clothes on this straw man of, oh, it's self-ego. How is the foundation being the well-being of individuals and society self-ego? I'd love to hear that.
Untried and untested rally against a champion of renown, to which you as the audience have to decide, if you were a betting man, where would you put your money?
If I was a betting man, I would put my money on the most modern car, not the jalopy from 2,000 years ago. If I was a betting man, I would go with the scientifically tested one that is using science, because that will beat the dude on a horse. Like, if you want to make these analogies, we can all make these analogies. Like, you've got a rundown nag from 2,000 years ago that died, and you're still flogging that dead horse. I will put my trust in science giving us the most modern understanding of reality, rather than some Christian guy flogging his dead horse. Like, we can all make these analogies. And yeah, sure. Like, the idea that secular humanism borrowed from Christianity, it borrowed from everything. It didn't say, hey, that's a bad idea because it comes from bad religion. It doesn't say that. It just says if it's a good idea, it's a good idea. Isn't that something that you want out of a religion? But no, you'll go, oh, well, if Islam came up with something, it's got to be bad because Christianity good. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Now, I didn't address a lot of what he said as I was writing it down, because
you didn't address anything of what he said, Bob. You didn't address anything. You had a rebuttal and you sacrificed it to make a whole bunch of assertions that you never backed up.
I wanted to press a certain kind of argument in the conversation. However, that doesn't mean that I...
What argument? What argument? What's the argument? Abortion bad is your argument. That's a dog whistle. That's not an argument. That's an assertion. And it's clearly designed to appeal to those people that follow you. It's not an argument. This man does not know what an argument is.
That I wasn't listening to what Matt was said. It was just that what Matt was said was not particularly significant, I felt, in terms of his statements. It wasn't a particularly strong argument. So, for example, he pulled out a trope, an anti-Christian trope, a Christophobic trope, this idea of trying to link Christianity to the KKK. He did that
They were Christian. You tried to link secular humanism to damn near everything. You tried to link it to Nazism. You tried to link it to abortion. You tried to link it to damn near anything you wanted. You tried to link it to totalitarianism, for Christ's sake. Like, what are you talking about? Wow.
For emotive effect. This kind of argumentation is common amongst the New Atheist Brigade, common amongst people who push.
Well, guess what? The KKK was Christian, or they claimed to be Christian. You might do a no true Scotsman and say, hey, they weren't. They read the Bible, they believed in Jesus, they attended church, they had priests and pastors. They were Christian. And yes, you try to exclude them, go, oh, they weren't real Christians. Yes, they were, because that isn't a criteria of how we judge if someone is Christian or not. They were still following the same belief structure that all the other Christians were. Guess what? The Spanish Inquisition, they were Christians. And there's people that go so far to say, oh, well, Catholics aren't Christians. Yes, they are. They're Christians. You don't get to decide who's a Christian. We have a set of requirements for someone to be Christian. And you deciding that they're not the real ones isn't one of them. Ay, ay, ay.
The idea of secular humanism. And his argument was that they are Christian because they think they are. Well, there are some people that think that they're a woman. It doesn't make them.
See, this is more of the dog whistling kind of thing. This is just dog whistling. But, you know, if you wanted to have a debate on trans issues, you know, I don't think Matt should or would want to debate that issue. I don't think it's worth his time, to be honest with you. But you going into the debate to dog whistle for your followers and sort of change the topic of the debate to all of these topics that you think is going to give you a you know, slam dunk kind of thing is really dishonest. It's incredibly dishonest. He came to debate the existence of God, and well, no, he came to debate, is secular humanism better than Christianity? And all you've done is just make these assertions.
One, if I was to,
and Bob knows full well that you know, Matt stands up for, and people close to Matt are trans, and he's just trying to get him mad because he can't actually address his points.
Turn around and to say to the Afro-American community, I think I'm black. Does that make me black? No, of course it doesn't. The reality is that Matt is used.
Yeah, so you've made a category error. Being black isn't a social construct, whereas man and woman are. Male and female are not. There is some biological things for that. But man and woman definitely is. We don't recognize men and women by any kind of physiological thing. We recognize them by certain social traits. Hate to break it to you, buddy, but that is the truth.
These kinds of commentary, these kinds of arguments to a fan base that loves the catchphrases, that loves the quips, that loves the put downs, that love the arrogant, well, I'm playing chess while having this debate. But that doesn't advance the conversation. And when pressed on abortion, which is what I wanted to.
Wow, he is salty. Yeah, no, there's no arrogance here. That's the thing. The only arrogance is people thinking that they somehow can decide what other people do based upon their belief that they're in communication with a all-knowing, omnipotent creator of the universe that somehow concerns itself with whether or not I actually believe in them. There's the arrogance. You think you know what a God wants for everybody.
Talk about, and then rights of minorities, as I was asked to talk about, contrary to what Matt said. The reality is Matt has already admitted that he can't find any guidance in humanism. He can only give his opinion, his personal.
No, there is guidance in humanism. What are you talking about? It just isn't specific to, you know, saying, oh, this is our position on abortion, right? So he's misrepresenting Matt again, because he sort of said, hey, it doesn't provide specific guidance. And by that, what we're talking about is specific dogma. Like Christianity will say, hey, this is a bad thing, right? It doesn't get that specific. It just says, hey, do what is best for humanity. And that is guidance. So if I can show that these things are bad for humanity, secular humanism will support the thing that I'm doing. If I can't, then it doesn't. It's simple, but for some reason Bob cannot grasp what Matt's trying to say. What he's trying to say is there is no stringent set of dogmatic rules that determine whether you can or can't do something. That's what he's saying. The guidance it provides is a goal, what we're working towards. And then it's up to us to show that the actions we take or the actions we don't take are working towards that goal or not.
Opinion. But then if you attack his personal opinion, he says that's not humanism. It's just his personal opinion. And this is the rhetorical trope that he uses again and again and again in debate. You've got to decide out of the two presentations.
Yeah, because we don't, because just because sort of the authorities on secular humanism say one thing, we don't dogmatically follow it, like, and say, hey, you know, okay, they may say, hey, okay, we're going to do this, right? This is okay. So for like GMOs or something, right? They say, okay, and this is just an example that I don't think there's anything that wrong with GMOs, but just, well, there's things wrong with what the companies are doing with it. I don't think inherently there's anything wrong with it. They might say, okay, GMOs are fine. They're you know, good for you. That's fine. They help us grow things in freezing places where it ordinarily couldn't go. That's a good thing because it helps society. Okay. Now, GMOs are good is not a dogmatic thing that we've got to follow. Right. So if I find information that GMOs are harmful to people, just say there's a carcinogenic or something, they cause cancer in some way, I will be against that. Right. That's the thing. Like, it doesn't demand you keep to its dogma like Christianity does. It doesn't demand that. It just says, hey, do what's best for society and individuals. Do the best for humans, essentially. That's it. So it does give guidelines, but if it's found out that those things are against the flourishing of humans, then you would oppose it. Right? And he's talking like there's no division in Christianity. They're all on the same page about everything. Like, so if your priest says that gay people are fine, are you going to just say, oh, well, then gay people are fine? That's not a problem. No, you'll appeal to the Bible and say, no, it's in the Bible. It's not. But the problem is that tons of people read the Bible and they all get different opinions. I think a lot more into sort of how do you know your interpretation is the correct one is good as well. But the whole idea is leveraging against, oh, well, Matt disagrees with some other secular humanist. Well, no joke. Christianity solves that somehow, or everybody in Christianity is all on the same page all of a sudden. Get out of here. I don't know what's wrong with this guy, seriously.
Has offered a better argument for their viewpoint, and I leave it to you. I don't need to comment.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to get into our Q&A, everybody.
Yeah, so this leave it to you. It's again, like he's dog whistled, and then he's doing the appeal to his sort of base to sort of, yeah, I've provided all the dog whistles, everything you expected to hear. I'll leave it to you. Dude, I don't know why you're here for this debate. It does seem like you're just trying to dog whistle. You're not going to convince anybody of anything different behaving like this. It's not.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Big round of applause for our, virtual round of applause for our speakers for being here. They're the lifeblood of the channel. So thank you, Bob, and thank you, Matt, for being here. Let's get right
And just again, Matt should have had the last word on this one. He started.
Into your questions and keep those questions coming in. We're going to try to once again set like a 1-minute timer here, I think, for these questions as they're coming in, because we might get really down the rabbit hole, I think, on a few of these. So, in defense of the gospel for $4.99, thanks for coming out. Secular humanism doesn't start wars. They quietly stand for the 600,000 deaths of children each year in the name of rational and freedom. I think that one's for you there, Matt.
Okay. Not a question. But no, we're not quiet. We're actually, a good chunk of us are in favor of a woman's right to choose. I've actually debated abortion. I think it's funny that Bob said he wanted to talk about abortion. He could have scheduled a debate on abortion, but instead.
And this is it. He could have done a debate on abortion, and that's all he wanted to talk about. Abortion, trans rights, he wanted to use this as a platform to dog whistle his audience into sort of revving them up about issues that he cares about. Is that good for society? I think not. I think having a productive dialogue about systems we can implement to benefit society would be better. Is what Matt's doing good for society? I believe mostly, yeah, but sort of when he gets angry, he does sort of break down into taunting the other person and stuff. I don't think that's good for society either. So, yeah, which is better for society? Condemning your opponent for being a heathen and stuff, or sort of trying to have a reasonable discussion.
He did it on this and then tried to smuggle abortion in. He could have just arranged for a debate on abortion, which I've done before. Although I have some concerns about the optics of dudes debating abortion, but
yep, that is true. I get concerned about that as well. I don't debate abortion a lot because I do care that two guys debating abortion is just sort of, well, neither of you really have a dog in the race. It does concern me. And just an aside, I do want more women in debate. I think it's important for more women to have a voice. And I think that culturally, a lot of women are raised not to get into conflict, not to sort of raise their voice. And I'm all for it. I think that women should be able to raise their voice and they should be able to go into a debate and not get shouted down. I would love to see more of that, just personally. Yeah, I really want to support anybody that gets into debate, especially women.
I've done it, and yeah, no, I don't stand idly by. I stand in support of women's right to choose. Period.
Alrighty, next one coming in from T.
But the debate isn't about abortion. Like, Bob's just using it as a dog whistle. That's all he's doing. He's just dog whistling. Oh, but you kill millions of children. They're not children. And yes, that we do end the lives of embryos, because in order to, we would have to give up the right to bodily autonomy, and that is a very horrendous argument you'd have to make to sort of say give up that.
Well, this $5 Canadian. Oh, Canada. Hello, my fellow Canuck. Matt's wrong. Christianity was crucial to freeing slaves because without the Bible, there wouldn't have been slaves to free in the first place. Oh, that was back. That's.
Oh, thanks, you hooligan. I still feel like I'm insulting you. Thanks, you total hooligan. Yeah. All the best to your other half. Thank you for coming. Really good to see you. Thank you so much for joining the channel and so much for the super chats. Thank you so much.
That's a twist of the way. I was like, what do you mean I'm wrong? I literally said that Christians were instrumental to this. Okay, there wouldn't have been slaves. Actually, you're wrong as well, commenter, because Christianity, nor Judaism, nor the Bible, none of that invented slavery. So when you say that there wouldn't have been slaves without Christianity, you're just wrong there too. There were already slaves. It's not.
Yeah. Like, I think Bob is a pre-sup, and a lot of the time with pre-sups, you get this idea that Christianity, or Judeo-Christianity, I should say, was the start of the universe. Right, so there was nothing before Christianity, so it was the origin of everything, which is crazy. I mean, we found tablets previous to Christianity, way before the Old Testament. I believe it was. I was talking about somebody with it in the comments. Actually, it was like the tablets of Nama. It was in which is sort of modern day Iraq, around that area. And it was sort of an older Mesopotamian civilization. Like, we have moral codes written down from earlier than the Old Testament. But this sort of idea is that because the world started with the Old Testament, then there's nothing before Christianity. It was the first religion, or Judeo-Christianity was the first sort of religion system, that there was nothing before. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm really sorry, but Judaism wasn't the first religion. It wasn't. I'm sorry. I mean, you look at the Aboriginal traditions over here, and they go back like 50,000 years. We have cave paintings of the rainbow serpent that are like 45,000 years old. Okay, it's not a religion, it's more animism, but it's there. It's yeah.
Like Christianity invented the concept, nor did Judaism.
In Defense of the Gospel strikes again for $9.99. Don't worry, Bob. We got some for you too. Don't so just sit tight and
Take time.
we'll be right with you. Matt mosquitoes the Bible and Matt misquotes. Sorry, mosquitoes. Jeez. Matt misquotes the Bible and takes it out of context on purpose. He needs to in order to lead his sheep who won't seek the truth for themselves. Has society improved the more secular it has become?
Yes. Yes. There is not a single metric you can point to where society has got better since sort of democracy and secular government. I mean, what do you want to point to? Murder rate's gone down. Criminals gone down. Education gone way up since the days of, well, you have to be a priest to be able to read. And yeah, part of that was Christianity. They invented the printing press mostly to print Bibles. But that's okay. I mean, they didn't come out, God didn't throw down the printing press. They came up with it through scientific methods. There isn't a metric that you can point to anywhere that says that life has gotten worse. I don't know why this person, they've got this idea of, the good old days were better. No, they weren't. They really weren't.
Time for glasses.
So it's cool that you can just assert that I misquote the Bible and misrepresent the Bible, but you actually have to make that case. And considering that a good chunk of the videos that I've done for my own channel are me actually just reading the Bible and doing the entire context, I think you got some heavy lifting to do. But at no point today has anybody made a case that I've misrepresented the Bible. However, your argument is fallacious because when you say has the world gotten better, as it's gotten more secular, in many ways it has. But my case is about secular humanism, not about secularity. There are secular regimes that are completely antithetical to secular humanism.
Yeah, he's not wrong. If you want to debate secular humanism, debate secular humanism, not secularism. Communism is a secular society. It's not humanistic. It's totally geared towards the well-being of the Communist Party. That's what the communist systems generally do. It's the whole idea that secularism is automatically secular humanism is absurd.
That are murderous, vile regimes. And so for you to suggest, oh, has the world gotten better, that it's gotten more secular, is irrelevant to the subject of this debate. But in many ways, yes, it has. People generally living longer, we have better access to healthcare, better access to more information.
Yeah.
But it hasn't solved all our problems. And I'm not saying that it hasn't solved our problems merely because there's not a secular humanist government. I'm saying it hasn't solved all our problems because there are still ideologies in the world that are not secular, that are controlling things. Let's just look at what's going on with Israel and Palestine right now.
Oh, and we have a $3 American from Robin Webster. Thank you, Robin. Hope to do a debate. I want to debate Bob abortion. Yep, you go for it. You go, girl. Get at him. Absolutely. Bob's idea of abortion and if you want to do surrogacy as well, I'd love to see that. But all for it, Robin. You get at it. You go get it. I'm gonna show that again. Yeah, I fully support that as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you do want to debate modern day debate, it's best to have a couple of debates under your belt, or at least one, that you can point to and say, yes, I can carry a debate. I can sit there and I can actually hold myself up in a debate. There's other places to get that experience. I'm all for it. Yeah, and sort of you do have to have a camera. There's a few things they have, but look, I'm all for it. Absolutely. Let's get some girl power in here.
Okay. This next one coming in for you, Bob, from Mystic Hydra. Nice to see you again in the live chat there. Do you think all religions are a better approach than secular humanism? Or is a humanist approach better than, say, Scientology, for example?
I can answer that one. Scientology is terrible. Scientology is a money-making cult that was invented by a science fiction writer. Look, Scientology and Mormonism are the two that like, you can sort of make a case, right? And it's not a great case, but you can make a case that sort of the older religions are based upon, sort of interpretation of something that is actually real. Like, there's a real God out there, and my religion's an interpretation of it. I don't believe it, but you can make a case. Like, I don't know what kind of case that Mormonism and Scientology can make, because they're quite obviously made up bull crap. That's what they are. excuse me, one was made up by a guy like who used to do treasure hunting with his hat, and it was quite obviously a fraud, and convicted of fraud. And the other one was a science fiction writer who put down a religion that looks for all intents and purposes like a science fiction book. They're both ridiculous. The only thing that I the only thing that I think that Scientology and Mormonism serve is to show people of other religions how even a bad idea can become a religion. I think they're a good contrast to say, hey, people will believe literally anything if they're given a religion to believe in. And believing it strongly doesn't make it true. Just because you find it meaningful, these people find that religion meaningful. So they're good as a comparison, I guess. Oh, good night, Aspot. Thank you so much for coming, and thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it, mate. Good night. Good night. Yeah, no, I totally understand. It's my fault. I'm upside down. I know. It's terrible. Somebody send me something.
No, absolutely not. If I had a choice between living in anything other than a Christian society, I'd probably choose secular humanism. And the reason for that is because secular humanism is essentially Christianity light. It borrows from a Christian scaffold. It borrows Christian metaphysics.
No, it doesn't. Christian metaphysics. The metaphysics of Christianity is that God created the universe, and that there is a God and a risen Jesus Christ. The resurrection of Christ is central to it. It doesn't borrow those metaphysics. So either A, you don't understand secular humanism, or B, you don't understand what metaphysics is. Because I think you're trying to say that secular humanism borrows Christianity's morality, moral values. Yeah, some of them. Sure. Why not? It'll borrow anybody's moral values if they are good for humanity. I don't see why that's a problem. But it doesn't just, like, you don't understand what metaphysics are. I'm prepared to bet he doesn't understand what metaphysics are, because he referred to an ontological faith before. So I'm guessing that he doesn't understand a lot of the sort of the philosophy that he's proposing.
Upon Christian metaphysics, it borrows Christian forms, it borrows Christian attitudes, it distorts many of them in the process of the borrow.
Does not borrow Christian attitudes. Being compassionate to people around you is not a Christian attitude. It's just a human attitude. People were being compassionate to each other long before Christianity. You know, you don't get civilizations without being compassionate towards one another. It's really weird that he thinks that. But then again, people that are sort of very fundamentalist Christian literally believe that there was nothing before Judeo-Christian, sort of before the book of the Bible, because it says that God created the world and then created Adam and Eve, and they think that, well, that's the origin of humanity. It's not. That's the thing. It's not. And if you actually understand where Christianity came from, or rather where Judeo-Christianity came from, it actually was part of a pantheon of a lot of different other gods like El and Asherah and Baal. And it just happened to be the one that was in sort of revered by the Israelites among the Canaanite people. The Israelites were the ones that worshipped Yahweh. But there were religions before that. There's older religions, so it didn't start like this. This is silly.
It borrows from Christian doctrine. The reality is that
what Christian doctrine does secular humanism borrow from? What doctrine? This is really weird. You might make a case that it does borrow some of its moral values. Sure. Why not? But doctrine? What doctrine does it borrow? Exactly. I'd like to know.
That secular humanism is a distortion of Christianity, and as such, secular humanism is better than Islam, secular humanism is better than Hinduism, secular humanism is better than Scientology by far. And so, no, I don't believe that it's a case that all religions are better than secular humanism. Actually, secular humanism trumps a lot of religions.
Alrighty, Big Bang Flying Wayne flying in again for $5. Rationality leads to tyranny. I know some slave-owning founding fathers that would say Bob is too conservative and extremist in his faith.
Yeah, so what rationality leads to tyranny? How the hell can you back that one up? Like, seriously, what are you saying?
Is that too?
Hey, I want to be irrational because I want to be free. Really? Is that what you're saying? That your freedom comes with irrationality? Like not actually being rational? I don't. Help me explain that one to me.
I think Big Fang Flying Wayne, I think this one's to you there, Bob. Rationality leads to tyranny. That's in quotation marks. I know some slave-owning founding fathers that would say Bob is too conservative and extremist in his faith.
They can say that, and they're probably, from their perspective, right. I would come across as very different to them. But the thing about human.
No, what they're saying is that the founding fathers of the US understood that you have to remove that level of religious belief in order to have freedom, especially freedom of religion, which I think Bob isn't too hot on freedom of religion, to be honest with you. So it's like he's basically saying, well, I want to tyrannically prevent people from doing anything other than my religion. But if you think rationally, then that's tyranny. I don't think he understands what tyranny is. And the big thing, Flying Wayne, I think his name was, I've met him before. He's a decent guy. He's right. Like the founding fathers would say, hey, you cannot provide tyranny of religion. But,
or that understanding is the centering of the ordering of the state around the idea of the touchstone of the human as the principal object of moral discourse. That is why communism and fascism are both forms of secular humanism, despite what matters.
Communism and fascism are both forms of secular humanism. They are not. They are not, sir. They are not. Communism, and it depends on what kind of communism you're talking about, like Marxism or sort of, other communist systems. Pure communism might be, but I'm not a big fan of communism. I feel that it always falls into, instead of the people being the focus and the foundation of communism, I feel it's always the Communist Party that's the focus and foundation of the communist system. So I would argue that communism actually, especially in China, it really does look after the Communist Party first and foremost. It's not a secular humanist system. And to say fascism, where the state is the focus and foundation, is ridiculous. Like, Bob is an absolute... I'm really sorry, mate, but you're an idiot. To say that communism and fascism are secular humanist in nature is demonstrably false. Communism is not concerned with the well-being of humans. It's not. It's concerned with giving power it's concerned with distribution of the power of manufacturing to the people's representative, which is the Communist Party. It's not concerned with the well-being of people in general. It's not. It's an economic system. It's not. It's concerned with the whoever controls manufacturing. Fascism, and it's weird that people think this idea of fascism is sort of, well, communist and fascism is no, it's not. For a start, fascism is marked by extreme religiosity. And I'm not sure Bob's aware of what is categorized by fascism. It's not necessarily, but a lot of the times it is very religious. And the religion is there to support the state. And everything is concerned by it focuses on propagation of the state, and usually one central leader who is the embodiment of the principles that the state embodies. It's not concerned with people. It's not concerned with well-being of people.
Dillahunty thinks. Matt Dillahunty's well, okay, fair enough. And you've interrupted me, but
yeah, you just said his name.
Victoria, that is an amazing point. If communism and fascism are secular humanism is Christianity, so communism, fascism, and Christianity. Yeah, you absolutely could make that argument based upon what Bob's saying. But again, he's just dog whistling for his audience. Oh, atheism is communism and atheism is fascism. Like, it's really just that dog whistle. Oh, and they stole Christianity from us and warped it, and now it's secular human. No, you don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry, but if you're going to imply,
you're going to talk about what I'm going to say, and you're wrong.
Well, I mean, people can judge your statements in other debates to see whether you've denied it, like with Jordan Peterson. But the reality is that these are forms of secular humanism. The kind that the manifestos propel. Oh yeah, coming back to tyranny, that was it. Tyranny of reason. Basically, the tyranny of reason argument is the idea that rationality leads to everything being measured by consequence and a function.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Consequentialism is not the outcome of rationality. I don't know why I'd think that. You can still be rational and be a sort of a utilitarian. You can still have virtue ethics and be rational, right? You can say, hey, these are good virtues, being brave, being confident, being this, being generous, you can still be rational and come to virtue ethics. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. I don't understand this argument. There's a ton of different moral systems and how we categorize morals, and not all of them are consequential. If you're sort of saying induction, well, how does this man get through life? Like, does he just do things without thinking of the consequences of them? Like, oh, well, I'm just going to walk out onto the road. I'm not going to, it's tyranny to stop walking onto a road because you can look into the future and see the consequences for not looking both ways. Are you serious right now? I think this is what he's trying to say.
And that doesn't give grounds to other things like truth, like virtue, and meaning, and everything becomes measured by a cost-benefit ratio, which is harmful. It's tyrannical because it closes down other measurements of human activity. That's the problem.
A cost-benefit analysis. Well, not necessarily, but I don't think. But look, and you could say, hey, consequentialism does lead to that. Sure, I'd agree with that. But you're not saying consequentialism leads to that. You're saying rationality leads to that. You're saying being able to think logically and rationally leads to this. It doesn't. As I've said, there's other systems. There's virtue ethics. There's deontology. I mean, I don't think that deontology is worth a damn, but, that can lead people to that. What are you talking about?
All right, let's
So since it was brought up in my discussion with Jordan Peterson, when Peterson tried to also say that there had been secular humanist regimes, I corrected him as well. Those were not secular humanist regimes. They were not.
And you were wrong to do so.
Sorry.
Just interrupt Matt. Yeah. You're complaining about being interrupted. He let you talk and make these horrific statements that are demonstrably incorrect, and then you want to talk over him.
What was that?
You were wrong to do so because they are.
No, I was still correct. None of those.
No, you really weren't.
No, I really was. You're gonna keep interrupting me. I mean, I let you do it twice now.
Me,
I know, but I let you do it twice. But it's like you're gonna keep doing it now. You ready?
Are you upset?
No, I'm not upset. I'm annoyed.
Okay. All right, I will wonder.
Okay, and this just shows what Bob's after. He just wants to make Matt upset. Are you upset? Are you upset? What are you, 5? You're gonna cry? Bob, what are you doing? This isn't a playground. You're not bloody 8 years old. What are you doing? This is really somebody with arrested development, in my opinion. He's stuck in. Well, I'm gonna just be in a playground, and you're gonna cry. You're gonna upset. You're gonna cry to mummy. Come on, dude. Seriously, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, at least let him explain why you're wrong. Like,
Annoying.
If you do imply the other speaker, I'm going to let them
but the
respond,
Soviet Russia was not a secular humanist regime.
Yes,
It did not use the secular humanist manifesto. It did not rely on secular humanist principles. It essentially had the state as the government.
Well, this next
So in
one,
in reply to
Sorry,
that,
the state is religion.
and secular humanism sort of was developed in the 50s, by the way. Soviet Russia existed well before that. So you can't say that secular humanism was created in the modern day, but things in the past have been using it. It's so nonsensical.
sorry, in reply to that, the silent liberal is what everyone is missing. Like the humanist manifestos represent a liberal reading of secular humanism.
Okay, so this is where all liberalism is secular humanism. No, it's not. In fact, most of the liberals in America are actually religious. Like, you can't equate the two.
I would suggest that certain speakers are progressive liberal secular humanists, but the communists are a fruit of that shift from a God-centered to a human-centered society.
Well, you're like one step away from being Daniel Hikikachu, who thinks that not only was this all secular humanism, but so is George W. Bush a secular humanist, a secret secular humanist. You guys should get together and discuss what is, because you guys are both equating with anything that you see as liberal progressive that is not tied to your religion as secular humanism, and that is just wrong.
No.
Yeah, and that's not wrong. Like, you just see any liberalism whatsoever as secular humanism, and you're wrong. You could be a liberalist and be sort of, all for individual pleasure, for instance. That would not be a tenet of secular humanism, right? Just my own gratification would not be a tenet. And this is the thing that David Hickachu said. He made this big thing about the pleasure machine, and that all you want is that isn't secular humanism. But again, these people, they don't investigate what secular humanist is. They don't investigate it in the slightest.
Well, I'm equating the idea of using humanity as the touchstone and the basis of human activity and moral judgment as a humanist worldview, and communism and classical liberalism and fascism are all examples of that.
No, they're not. Fascism is not an example of secular humanism. I could not imagine two systems where fascism, which only provides for the state apparatus, and nationalism is even compatible with secular humanism, which focuses the well-being of humans, not only those in your own country, but those outside of your country. I could not imagine how those are even compatible with one another, because nationalism is a hierarchical system that puts your nation and your national values above everything else, including other people. I don't understand. Like, you would have to make a case for that. But, I'm really sorry. Bob's an idiot. You're an idiot if you think that fascism is even compatible with secular humanism. It's not.
They're not, but okay.
People can decide for themselves.
Let's try to move on from there. And just to let both our speakers know, just because I don't know if you heard me when I said that, when answering the question, if Matt says, Bob would have you believe X, I'm going to give Bob a chance to respond. That's just how we usually go about this. So, Bob.
But it's also courteous to let them finish, Ryan.
Yeah,
It's also courteous to focus on the subject of the debate, not come in with a pre-prepared rebuttal and a pre-prepared closing.
This is just going to be your refrain throughout the debate. Stop sulking.
All right, this next one
is
coming
in. You're going to accuse me of sulking here. Your closing remarks still focused on me.
I am literally replying, and people can judge whether that statement is true or not. Some of that commentary is true, but not all of it.
Yeah, and this is where it sort of breaks down into just back and forth taunting each other.
Yeah, you also lied during your closing, saying I said we can't find any guidance in humanism, and that's not true. I said there's no
guidance on particular examples.
I said there's not. I thought it was
two particular examples.
I said there's not guidance in humanism on the specific subject of abortion. You can't hang and you framed that, you liar, as me saying that you can't find any guidance in humanism. You liar.
Yeah, so Matt has a point. He misrepresented him completely in a lot that he said, like some of the things that he brought up. I understand Matt's frustration. However, it's probably not the time to have an argument about it. I probably would wait to afterwards and say, hey, you shouldn't have just come in wanting to debate another subject. It's really disingenuous of him. And absolutely it's disingenuous of him. He obviously, like, from his, are you upset? He wants to make Matt upset, because if he can show that Matt's upset and do something that looks bad, his dog whistles get that much better, because then he can say, hey, look, the secular humanist, he's just angry and yelling, and that's not good for society and things like that. He's trying to meta play Matt into reacting in a way that makes him look immoral, so he can dog whistle against, say, see, angry atheist, this is all we would expect from secular humanism.
All right, we're gonna just let Bob unmute here, and we're gonna give Bob last closing on this one here, and then we're moving on from there, guys. I know there's, you want to both respond to what the other one's saying, but we got lots of questions flying in. So 15 seconds there, Bob.
Yeah, I'll just note again that the only time that Ryan ever hits that mute button is to mute me, even though Matt is the one that interrupts.
Yeah, and this is him trying to use the moderator to leverage against Matt. Look, you might not agree with the umpire's call, but you sort of just have to accept it and move on, kind of thing. I get that.
I don't think I was gonna say. I think
Well, people can judge.
I think I've muted you guys both an equal amount, especially once we got into that back and forth. But anyways, we won't hyperanalyze that. We're doing everything we can here. So Ember, sorry, polarity coming in. Matt, there are countries where both Christianity and secularism have succeeded in making working and decent societies. How much do you weigh results versus theory versus beliefs for what is best? Weigh results versus theory versus beliefs for what is best. I don't know.
So the problem is that while for example, the United States is supposed to be a secular nation. It's not a Christian nation. It's founded on secular principles. However, in practice, it's never truly been a proper secular nation because the predominant religion in the United States has been some version of Christianity or some collection of Christianity. They'll go with Judaism.
And it's certainly not secular humanism. There's no way. I look, and this is the thing about Daniel Hickacher was sort of leveraging, secular humanist, like America's a secular humanist state, and look at all the wars it's caused and stuff. It's not secular humanist. It's capitalist. I don't know anybody that wants to argue that humans and people are prioritized in America over capital. I don't know anyone that's willing to argue that. I really would push back against that idea.
Christian, even though it's not a real thing, which has resulted in a number of different problems. But if all I'm doing is looking at the ideas and the focus. And that's why when I presented what secular humanism is according to the manifestos, it is very clear and humble in the sense of saying, we're not claiming to have all the answers. We just want to go about finding the answers the best way we can. We want to make the best world we can. And so we're going to use reason and science and knowledge about the world to figure out what the right answers are, because we don't get to say, God told us. Because until God comes down and actually tells us, God hasn't said a thing. Let God be true and every man a liar. You can't just assert that your God holds some position and therefore that's the just position. Because now you have no way to resolve the conflict between Jews, Muslims, Christians, Scientologists, anybody else who's just going to say, no, this is what my religion is. Instead, secular humanists are saying, until such time as we have good reason to think that relying on supernatural intervention is a possibility, we're going to operate as if we're all stuck here on this planet trying to solve problems together. And that means...
Okay, so do you notice the way that Matt is actually giving a solution to how we all make society better, how we can live together and we can make this society better? What has Bob offered as a way to make society better? He has just claimed, no, Christianity is better. Has he given any way he's going to sort out the problems that we have between Muslims and Christians and Hindus and all these other people fighting? Has he given any way we're going to decide how we're going to live together in relative peace and comfort? Has he given any kind of indication? No, all he said is Christianity is better for society. I'm going to claim that. He hasn't provided any evidence that's the case, and unlike Matt, he isn't providing any systematic way to actually implement Christianity in such a way that society does actually get better. He's just saying, boo secularism, yay Christianity. But Matt's the only one presenting how secular humanism would make society better, not just making an assertion of it. And it's never addressed. It's never addressed.
We need to rely on data. And the problem is that this has never been fully put into place in any government. And by the way, I didn't say that today. I said this previously. I'm not advocating for secular humanism as a government. Mm-hmm. The fact that I advocate for secular humanism as an ideology does not mean that I advocate for it as government. Just like people who confuse communism and socialism, and one of them is, one's economic, one's political. It's different stuff. And when you lump it all together, it just shows how much you don't understand it.
All right. What we'll do.
Woo! Tsunami raid. Woohoo! Thank you so much. I love being raided. So this is the thing. It's this whole idea of Christianity makes it better. How's it going to make it better? We don't know. Because instead of actually addressing Matt and basically bringing up his points of how Christianity is going to do that, All it has been is just attacking Matt, misrepresenting secular humanism, misrepresenting. Now, it's important to note that secular humanism does not impose itself on others. It doesn't say, hey, you have to behave in this way because some sort of God or some authority or something says you have to. It doesn't do that. All it says is, if you would like a better society and if you care about humans, this is the best way to get there. It's in your court. You can follow it or you don't have to.
We'll set some 1-minute timers and get through these questions. They're flying in, guys. Ember, we'll keep them to the side that we have them for too, if we can. So Ember, one of our treasures here at Modern Day Debate.
Oh, good night, Earl. Take care. You're a good friend. You're a good friend.
Bob, you spoke of ripping limbs off babies. Did you confuse abortion with the Bible? With all the dashing of the babies, hard to claim moral superiority. 1 minute for you there.
Yeah, it's quite easy. I mean, this is a repeated fallacy of many a militant secular humanist who simply reads the Old Testament without actually understanding the idea of covenants or ever integrating the idea of covenants into their critique. They strawman Christianity and they turn the argument into an argument, the Bible versus secular humanism, rather than Christianity versus secular humanism. There's, people have done that about slavery in the Bible repeatedly, despite the.
Well, slavery is in there. Okay, so the dashing of babies against rocks. Bob is right on this. People sort of say, hey, it tells you to dash the babies on the rocks. It doesn't necessarily say that. What it's talking about is the exile of the Israelites in Babylon, basically because Babylon came around and stomped them into the ground, and they're angry about it. They're basically, in a very poetic way, it says that the day that sort of Babylon falls, they'll be singing and rejoicing and dashing of babies against. It's not saying to go out and do this. It's sort of just giving. It's almost like a refrain of how angry they are about what's happened to them, kind of thing. So it doesn't necessarily tell them to do that. However, there is passages where God definitely told people to go and kill all of the children, kind of thing. So there's definitely passages where a presumed God has endorsed the wholesale slaughter of women, children, families, animals even. I don't know what the animals did, but apparently that too. So slavery, it definitely, I mean, endorse is a weird word. I think it would endorse it. It definitely provides a system of procedures for dealing with and owning humans as property. So whether or not it endorses it, yeah, it definitely provides the system there. But he's talking about covenants and stuff now. I'm not like, if you think covenants aren't a thing, then gay people are fine because the only thing is in the Old Testament. I don't know. It's just very, very weird place to go into.
The fact that when slave owners gave Bibles in the southern states to slaves, they redacted the Bible because they scared that it would inspire revolt. And so, no, I'm not confusing my critique of contraception rights that is upheld within the Humanist Manifesto with the Bible. I am calling out the fact that people advocate that the manifestos don't legitimize killing, but they do, and they have justified the abortion of millions of lives.
This next one.
And get an abortion debate, dude. And it's not murder. Like, it's a legal term. You just... Oh, and Aussie Gold just used his 3 months. And thank you for being a 3-month member, Aussie Gold. I really appreciate it. Matt Powell won Potholer 54's Golden Crocodile 2023. Yes, I saw that on Hive Science. The Golden Crocodile was given out to Matt Powell. To be honest with you, Matt Powell deserves more than an award for a crocodile. He probably deserves to be eaten by a crocodile. But, we'll take what we can get.
Is coming in. Actually, yeah, thank you so much for the super chat there, Ember. And also, everybody else that put in their super chats. I also want to make a quick shout out. Big thank Flying Wayne. Great having a conversation with you the other night, buddy. That was a lot of fun. And just what the doctor ordered, I needed some music talk. So I appreciate you, buddy. Frankenstein coming in for $19.99. Well done, Matt. This donation is for the well cleansing. No further questions. Well,
the well cleansing.
Thank you for that.
Well?
I'm not sure.
Because he kept poisoning the well.
Poisoning the well, right?
Yeah, so $19.99. That was from.
How does that benefit?
So poisoning the well is basically where you attack somebody's character or their previous statements or something like that in order to make them look like they're untrustworthy, or that them as a source of information can't be trusted. Yeah, he did. He absolutely did. He sort of made these entire statements about what Matt had said in the past, or what Matt believes, or he sort of intimated that Matt can't be trusted because he has taken certain positions in the past.
This debate, to read that.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't exactly.
Is that you attempting to give commentary on the debate?
As
It's
you
somebody who
saw,
paid
I did.
Is that he's blaming the moderator for what somebody's written in, and all it was, yeah, well done, Matt. You will need a well cleansing after this. But Bob can't understand what's going on. I mean, seriously, dude. Have you ever watched the show before? You're on here. Maybe not. Maybe he hasn't.
So
Not
Q&A.
so money goes to the
Q&A.
channel.
But the thing is that Bob seems to be the only one. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a dog whistle for Matt's audience. Yeah, it kind of is. But Matt isn't doing it, right? Matt isn't dog whistling it. It's an audience member that has paid to have this read out. So he's read it out, and Bob's gone, oh, that's just a sly statement to appeal to your audience. Well, A, he's not wrong. You did poison the well. And B, it's not Matt making it. It's an audience member. You idiot.
They read the things that people give super chats for. Do you not know how the internet works?
No, I don't know how super chats work. I don't use them myself.
Yeah, there's already.
Yeah. Oh, dude, what are you doing? Oh, Bob. Oh, Bob. This is a Q&A section. You can make statements in the Q&A. Yeah.
A super chat here that I am going to reel in just because it is a bit ad hominem. So let's just behave yourself. Chris at the speaker's corner. If this debate is about whether secular humanism or Christianity is better for society, then isn't the subject of abortion of immense importance given its modern relevance?
Who's that to?
Well, let's give you both a minute. Let's kick it over to you, Matt, and then we'll kick it over to you, Bob, to close us out. So 1 minute there, Matt.
Sure. I think abortion is one of many important subjects, and because I read in the Secular Humanist Manifesto.
But the problem is that we didn't get to any other subjects. There's tons of things which are of importance in society. Sort of punitive prison systems or rehabilitative prison systems. The influence of money on society, the influence of religion on society. There's a million things which are important. The propagation or the lack of gun control. There's tons of issues which are important. Tons of them. How come abortion was the only one brought up? Well, abortion and surrogacy was the only one brought. How come that was the only issue ever brought up? And I'm not sort of excusing Matt for this. I think some of those should be brought up. Like, what does the Bible say about gun control? Exactly. How does Christianity give you a sense of whether gun control is a good idea or a bad idea? It doesn't have a lot to say on it, does it?
So that it's support for abortion. It does not give guidance on the specifics of it because abortion laws change over time. My position is that no one should have the right to use, whether you count a fetus as a person or not, it shouldn't have the right to use someone else's body without their consent. And I don't know under what kind of moral or legal, and I care more about it from the legal standpoint about what people are permitted to do rather than people's moral assessment of it. But I don't know under what grounds you have the right to say, no, I get to force you to stay pregnant against your will. That's the bodily autonomy is paramount. You can object to it all you want. You can call it vile and disgusting or whatever, but those are all of your assessments that don't actually get to the rights of the individual.
10 seconds. Oh, or maybe you were done right there. That works out. Next one coming on in.
Wait, Bob gets to go.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. That's right. You're right. Right over my.
Yeah, and that's sort of Matt showing charity. He's like saying, "Hey, Bob needs a chance to respond," and I love to see that. I love to see. Debating isn't a sport, but that sort of sportsmanship. The charity of, hey, this person needs to be able to respond as well. And that's sort of a charity that is not being shown back the other way. It's sort of a, just accusations and just being childish back the other way. But I do like that Matt's at least trying to be a reasonable adult here and say, hey, you did say both people, let's give him a chance to respond. I wish that he was shown the same charity back, to be honest with you.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me, guys. 1 minute over to you, Bob.
Thank you very much, Matt. So, like, no offense, but we've established, therefore, that I was right to raise it in the chat because it is a legitimate question. Women have to take responsibility for their actions. The vast majority of pregnancies are not connected to rape. The vast majority of pregnancies are connected to consensual sex. The idea that women have the right to abort their children because they can't be forced to being pregnant because they have bodily autonomy. We take bodily autonomy away from people all the time when they try to kill someone else.
Yeah, when they've committed a crime. So here's the thing about that. Like, oh, we take people's bodily autonomy. Yeah, when they've committed a crime. But what you have, and here's the paradox of sort of saying, well, we take people's bodily autonomy away all the time, is that they haven't actually broken the law and you've still taken their bodily autonomy away. Because when you stop somebody from getting an abortion, they're not going to be getting an abortion. That action is not possible, but you've still taken their bodily autonomy away. Right. So how do you basically sort of prevent, like, how do you stand by that they weren't going to get an abortion because they can't? That's really, really weird. That's really weird.
Put them in prison. They don't want to be there, but we put them there, and then we regulate their lives. And so, therefore, if you get pregnant, you don't have the right to kill someone else. And that means you lose the right to bodily autonomy because abortion is about killing.
So I've got a funny feeling this question was sent in by one of Bob's followers who just wanted this debate to be about abortion. It's all that we've heard from. He's a one-note person. It's yeah.
Someone else. And that's why they don't have the right of bodily autonomy over the life of someone else.
So, for example, I didn't say you were right to raise it. I said you were wrong to focus on my position rather than on secular humanist position, because my position isn't the subject of the debate.
Secular humanist manifesto support the idea of abortion. That was the argument. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
All right, let's continue on from there. 8 stairs for $5. Great.
Yeah, could you talk about something other than freaking abortion though? Like, you'd think that that's the only problem within society. Like, there's no problems apart from abortion. Like, are you serious? Freaking hell.
Moderation, Ryan. Don't let the haters say otherwise. Oh, thank you, hate stairs. Sometimes I worry. You can't always hit the right moment and figure out exactly how to operate these online discussions, because sometimes you don't know what you're getting into. But
again, you're offering commentary on the debate, right? This is a Q&A.
That's great. I'm answering a question that's for me. Yeah, so we do try to keep it fair.
There. That was commentary.
Oh,
well, it's sent in as a super, like, not all of them are going to be questions and answers, dude. Like, seriously. People just write in to comment and they'll just say a comment and you'll read out the comment and you get a chance to respond to it.
Sorry, commentary.
It came in from a super chat. They read the super chats. People pay to get their commentary and learn how this works.
Yeah, I already kind of edited that one out because the rest of it's an ad hom against you, Bob, and I'm not going to read it because I'm not going to do that. So
correct.
Let's carry on there. And
wow, dude, he's just said he's trying to explain to you that if anything is ad hominem, he's not going to read it out, and you're like, well, you shouldn't. Correct. Dude, get over yourself. You know what? Sometimes I ask to have the insults to me read out. It's hilarious. You know, the reason why, and here's the reason why, it's because I find it hilarious that they can't actually, like, somebody that's sending an insult about me, they're not providing an argument. It doesn't matter what they say. And quite frankly, I kind of find it funny. Some of them are good. I like some of them, and some of them are actually good. And yeah, I want to help out the channel by having, you know, people pay for stuff to be read out. So I don't mind. I don't mind the ad homs. It doesn't worry me that much.
Like I said, we're gonna run this the way I'm gonna run it. I'm sorry there, Bob. Gayest Husky says, why does Bob have to lie about atheists, humanists, and trans people? And has he ever talked to a kid who has been in the adoption system?
Okay, so the answer to the question is yes. Actually, one of my closest friends was adopted. The issue is not about whether adoption is a good thing. It's obviously a good thing. The problem that I have is that, to my understanding of the Humanist Manifesto, it seems to support the idea of surrogacy, because it seems to support the idea of your rights to do what you want with your body and your rights to have a family. And as part of that, as an emergent factor of that, the idea of gay couple adoption. Adoption, having a child is not a right. And
nobody's saying it's a right. What are you talking? He's kind of like, oh, well, only natural childbirth is correct, kind of thing. what is it with about him and surrogacy that just makes him go crazy?
And treating children like commodities.
Oh, that's a good point, Daryl. That is a good point. That is a really good point. It was Rebecca, right? And his wife Rebecca, and Sarah was the one, his maid or something, his servant got pregnant for him. That's a very good point. I like it. I got to remember that one.
To be passed over is not to the benefit of society. And from my reading of the Humanist Manifesto, that is something that humanists would seem to be in favor of. And that's not a lie against atheists or secular humanists. That's a critique of the secular humanist society.
Okay, that was our first
society manifesto.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, that was
The manifesto doesn't discuss that.
Oh, sorry, are we doing a debate again? Because you seem to jump in whenever you want.
I'm sorry. Am I not allowed to respond during the
I
Q&A
didn't
portion of the
mention-
debate?
I
Yes, as a matter of fact, I
being
am allowed to respond.
Oh, I
I'm
see.
sorry that
Right,
you don't
fine.
like my responses.
And
That's too damn bad.
once again,
Okay, so Bob has never seen modern day debate and what they do. I think they're assuming that everybody coming on knows how the format works. Now, I don't think that's a huge oversight by Ryan. I mean, you'd expect somebody to have watched a debate on the debate platform you're trying to get on. But I don't think he's ever seen a debate on this platform, or really seen a debate anywhere, quite frankly. Getting both people to respond on a question and give their input.
right. So
too damn bad.
if Matt sneaks in a little something at the end, you're welcome to take time to respond to it there.
Yeah, so the rule on modern day debate, and generally how they'll do it, is unless they're running short on time, which they don't sort of thingo. Look, no, Sunflower, it's Bob that's being the petulant child, saying that Matt's not allowed to respond to questions, and the questions Q&A section has to be questions and can't be comments by people, and sort of blaming Ryan for reading out comments. Like it's absolutely ludicrous. So what happens is if you have enough time, if they say, hey, we've got very little time, so we'll just have the response to the question from the person who was asked. But generally what they'll do is they'll ask somebody the question, the other person can respond, but the person to whom the question was directed gets the final word. And that's generally how they do it. Like, Bob's completely ignorant of this. And, you know, I would expect that you sort of would understand how the Q&A section works on the show that you're trying to be on. And to blame Ryan for reading out audience questions when they have paid money to read out, no, I don't understand how super chats work. Well, don't you think you should, or ask if you're instead of accusing, why don't you say, hey, not familiar with super chats, how does this work? And they'll be happy to explain it to you. But instead it's this, oh, don't you read out that? Someone paid to have you read out that, you arrogant person.
Bob,
Thank you very much. I will do. I will do. So the reality is that and I would, you know, it's a shame that
I will do. I will do. Yeah, he's just said you can. Don't, like, seriously, what's with the attitude?
ask questions directly to Matt, but maybe the
You
next
could
time.
have if you hadn't wasted the
Yeah,
discussion
well,
portion.
once again, you're interrupting, and once again, doing so unchallenged by Ryan.
All right, let's
Amazing.
just
But
give
not
it,
unchallenged by you. Keep talking shit about
Yes,
me.
I
will
will.
keep
I
offering my
will.
opinion.
seconds.
That's
I
the way
will.
it's going to
You
work.
can't hang up and you can't run away, and it burns you.
It
But
doesn't
you
burn
can't
me.
do that.
You're
Yes,
an
it does.
annoying little petty bitch.
There you go. Stop being.
Yeah, so this is sort of where it really does break down. I don't support calling your opponent any names. I think it's counterproductive. But, you know, I mean, he's been trying to get Matt angry and sort of this petulant, well, why are you reading out super chats? They're super chats. He doesn't know how things work. That's fine. Stop accusing people and ask like a reasonable human being. You can tell that he doesn't like rationality because he's not behaving rationally.
Child, my friend.
not.
Stop being a child. Pick up the
Okay.
toys from your pram and
This
put
next
back in your
one
Whatever
pram.
you say, Daddy.
this next one is, I think, on point.
Whatever you say, Daddy. Wow, now you're trying to get him, and I get it. Look, when Ross was coming at me, I called him Sweetie once, and the look on his face was fantastic because he hated it so much. Yeah, call him Daddy. Make a joke. That's a better response from Matt. Make a joke out of it.
Aaron Leach says for $10, requesting
Can I just
a
express that I
temperature.
didn't get a chance to reply to Matt's comment?
All right, 15 seconds. Yeah, then we'll have to move
15
on. They're
seconds.
coming
He
in.
had more than 15 seconds, but okay.
Okay, now we're just getting into, we're low on time. Okay, 15 seconds. But he had more. But come on, dude.
So the reality is, people can judge for themselves whether the Humanist Manifesto supports, as an emergent characteristic of its values, the idea of surrogacy, and then they can see whether surrogacy is essentially teaching children or treating children like commodities, which is
okay. So it only supports surrogacy, right? If surrogacy is the best thing for the flourishing of humans, individuals, and society. Right? What can't you understand about that? Regardless of how you're reading it, whether you're reading into this or not, it will only support it if it is beneficial for society. And if you can show that it's actually detrimental to society, they will oppose it. This is what you're not getting. That it isn't something that we say, hey, surrogacy is good. No matter, because we've got it as an authority from Darwin or something, surrogacy is good, and we will keep to that no matter what. That isn't what secular humanism does. If you can show that surrogacy is detrimental, like when Tsunami said, hey, what about people that are using lower income workers for this surrogacy and pressuring them? Yeah, that's bad. It will be opposed to it because it is bad.
why we can't take any lectures from secular humanists about slavery.
All right.
Yeah. What do you mean we can't take lectures from secular humanists about slavery? Just because, look, even if surrogacy is bad, and just if mainstream secular humanism supports it, it doesn't make slavery okay. What the hell are you talking about?
Next one coming in from Aaron Leeds. He says, requesting a temperature decrease, please. More light, less heat. Thanking you both in advance. Yeah, I don't know if that's if he's asking us to just bring down the temperature of the debate, or if he's saying that we look like we might be too hot over here. But you know what? Yeah, I was going to say I'm hot. I know it's fine. I'll rock it. T. Will. Bob will be so embarrassed when he realizes he spent the first hour of the debate arguing against abortion, then goes back to read the Bible and realizes it actually endorsed abortion. Numbers 5. 1 minute there.
Okay. So again, Numbers 5, the passage that is often debated about whether it supports abortion.
You know what? At this point, I think in the debate, I was you are like, I'm kind of over abortion, right? It's sort of, I'm kind of annoyed that the audience brought it up. I kind of am sick of people talking about abortion. Like it is a debate about society in general, and this is the only topic that's been brought up. It's frustrating because you want to talk about a lot of different things that are crucial for society. There's water crises going on. There's sort of integration of immigrants, and there's refugees, and there's a million issues going on. There's race issues, there's sexism issues, there's tons of issues, but he wants to dog whistle about this thing. I'm over it.
It's not actually clear whether it's giving abortion or whether it understands what's happening in that passage to be something supernatural. That's the truth of it. If you read that passage, you can come out with one of two interpretations. Both of them have commentaries that support those interpretations. However, this is the fallacy that secular humanists always make, is that they try to turn the debate into secular humanism versus the Bible rather than secular humanism versus Christianity. Christians have always been against infanticide. They've always been against abortion. That has been a consistent practice and a consistent standpoint from the times of antiquity right up to the present day. It is a way in which we elevated the rights of children, and it is something that the secular humanists are undermining, as they are the apologists to one of the greatest genocides in history.
Okay, so it's not a genocide because it's not focused on one race or culture. Like, let's get that for a start. You don't understand what a genocide is. You literally don't understand that if it is a mass slaughter of people in general, it's not genocide because you're not trying to wipe out one people group. Okay, that isn't what's happening. So for a start, you're just playing wrong on your terminology there. Number 2 is it does say in Numbers 5 that if your wife gets pregnant while you're away, or you believe the kind of that your wife had been unfaithful, that you give them a potion made from the dust of the tabernacle. You could make the argument that that was before Christianity. You could also make the argument that that is in the Bible, which is endorsed by Christianity. So that's a whole other debate, though. This is what I'm trying to get at. That is a long road down a completely different debate, which is, was abortion a part of the Book of Numbers, kind of thing? Like, seriously. What has that got to do with modern society? I'm kind of getting annoyed at everybody, to be honest with you. Like the person that sent it in, it's like, oh God, can we get away from this topic?
All right, let's carry on from there. Gastusky says again, thanks, Bob, for making a dishonest, bigoted.
Yeah,
he's just saying this is going to be recorded forever.
Yeah. Your dog whistling is going to be, tribes wandering the wastes of humanity are going to be astounded at Bob's dog whistling as they carry their Bible forth. Like, come on, dude. Did you actually debate, or did you just go in there with a topic that you wanted to whistle about and just made really loud noises about one small facet of this massive topic that could have been a good conversation?
Gastusky, yeah, sometimes I scroll up and I just grab them and I start reading them. I'm like, let's just carry on. Thanks, Gastusky, but $5, you're not really offering too much to our conversation. Skeptics and Scoundrels. Bob, do you recognize a difference between a human life and a human person? If so, what is the difference?
Yeah, there is a difference. A human person, there is a difference, but I wouldn't want to overstress the distinction. A human person is obviously that instantiation of an I am that interacts with other instantiations of I am in the way that I'm interacting with Ryan and Matt like now.
And sorry to interrupt, human life, just right quick, he does go on to say, if so if you do find a difference, does life have rights over a person? And I'll give you another 45 there.
Yeah, and to answer that question, yes, life has rights over a person. A human person that is a female does not have the right to kill an embryo that is a life, even though that life is not yet a person in its own right. And that would be the distinction. So I don't think I need to.
Yeah, but also that woman has the right to decide how her body should be used. That's the whole point. You're basically saying that she is forced to use her body to support something that cannot live without her, and that isn't right, because you're giving extra rights to that embryo that a human doesn't have. I can't say, hey, I'm going to die without a blood transfusion from you, Bob, so I'm going to use your blood against your will. I can't do that. We shouldn't be doing that. And it doesn't matter if you're my father or my mother, or you're related to me in some way. We can't force people to use their bodies to support another person who cannot live without it. We still don't have the right to do that.
Leave it that. I think that's clear.
All right. Next one. Oh, Matt, you had some. I mean, we only had
clarity. I nodded in the middle, and I didn't want people to think I was agreeing with Bob, because what Bob's advocating for is special rights for fetuses that other persons don't have. And that's what I disagree with. So we're at odds there.
Can I reply to that now?
Sure thing.
Yeah, I am. And the reason why is because in a just society, you defend the weakest.
No, in a just society, everybody has the same rights. That's just. Like.
And the most vulnerable. And the fetus is the weakest and most vulnerable.
Let's carry on from there. Thanks for your questions, Skeptics and Scoundrels. Once again, enjoyed hanging out with you on the air the other day. Aaron.
Yeah, but you don't like defend the weakest and most vulnerable by letting them do whatever they want to anybody else within the society. You don't do that. You don't sort of allow the weakest and most vulnerable who can't get a girlfriend to forcibly have a girlfriend assigned to them because they're the weakest and most vulnerable. You don't have that right just because they're the weakest and most vulnerable. That's not what we do. We help them out, but we don't. So, if somebody's in a wheelchair, we build wheelchair ramps because you want to help the least and weakest and most vulnerable. But what we don't do is force people to carry quadriplegic people everywhere. We don't infringe on others' rights to help out other people. That's what we don't do. So if you have a right to bodily autonomy, you can't be forced to do these things. You might have obligations as part of the society, but we don't force you to give up your rights to help others. It might be morally superior to do so. I will grant you that. But sort of, it isn't morally, like if you choose and consent to doing it, you might be morally superior, but we don't enforce that as a moral necessity, because that would be breaching your rights. It's just, he doesn't understand why breaching people's rights is bad. He thinks he can enforce whatever he wants to enforce on anybody as long as it's good for them.
We can disagree with one another, but we don't have to hate one another. That's kind of open floor. So, Matt, 30 seconds. Thoughts on that?
I don't hate Bob. I find him annoying and dishonest throughout the debate, but I don't hate him.
All right, 30 seconds, Bob, over to you.
And I don't hate Matt, and I state that categorically. I mean, he might be sulking right now, and he might be throwing a temper tantrum, but I don't hate him. I just think he's a sore loser.
All right.
A sore loser. So you've determined you've won this debate. And I've talked about this before, how there's not really any winners or losers. Look, the audience is the loser in this debate, because we did nothing but talked about frigging abortion for what, an hour or so, and then had an argument. Like,
righty. And just a reminder to everybody in the live chat, we love you guys. Hit that like button, because you don't make me get too mushy on you guys. And another reminder, tickets are going to be linked in the description to DebateCon 4. Lots of great speakers are going to be there. You're not going to want to miss it. So if you're in Dallas, Texas, let us know in the old live chat there. And we'd love to see you over at the conference. If you're not in Dallas, Texas, let us know where you're at anyway.
Metaphysical claims about God. Therefore, we have.
Sorry, I'm just skipping the DebateCon advertisement. Sorry, MDD. I got to get to the heart of the matter.
Have to make judgments based upon scientific inquiry, and that we have to base our moral understanding using humanity as a touchstone, as the basis to make moral judgments, because we share this space and we have to live together. I think I've criticized that throughout. I think my 20th thesis do that. I don't think I've strawmanned that. And you know, you can commentate that I did, but obviously, you know, if you've come here with you know, presuppositions that Matt is always right and anyone against him is always wrong, then ultimately nothing I can say can convince you.
Okay, 1 minute on the clock there, Matt.
Okay, so it did in any way sum up why Christianity is better? Did he? That was his closing. Did he in any way sum up why Christianity was better at all? No, he didn't.
Thoughts on the question there?
I just think it's funny. I mean, he doesn't necessarily think he strawmanned it, but he came in with a pre-written rebuttal with 20 points that didn't address my thing. There's a reason the two of us show up to debate, and that's that I present my case, and he's supposed to rebut my case, but instead he's got to rebut some other case. And then he's going to pout about how the people who are calling him out for it are just Matt fans, as if I'm not being called a liar and names and a Nazi every time I step into the cesspool that is Modern Day Debate's chat room. It's ridiculous. I came in good faith, presented my case, addressed his case, and he showed up with a pre-written opening, a pre-written rebuttal to some other thing that, why did I didn't even need to be here. And then when it came time for the discussion, there was no open discussion. It was 1 minute or you're muted, 1 minute or you're muted. Let me go on and on about your personal position on abortion, as if your personal position on abortion is in any way representative or indicative of secular humanism. It could have been, and it's an important topic. And there are plenty of other topics that are important. But, you know, when you show up with everything pre-written, I don't know how you can claim you're not strawmanning.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, he's got a point. Like that was not a debate. That is not a debate. That is basically you showing up with a pre-written scattershot to throw out so many points that Matt couldn't address them. He's dishonest. He's just dishonest. He's not interested in having an actual conversation where points are put forward. He's interested in tearing down secular humanism, no matter what the cost, no matter whether he misrepresents it, no matter whether, you know, whatever he can do to say secular humanism bad. He's not even talking about how Christianity is better. He just makes up this analogy, how it's a pedigree racehorse and all this crap. He doesn't even explain how it can make things better. He just says it is. It's a pedigree racehorse and it's proven against all of these empires.
Like you said, I could, because he did bring me into his comments.
Sure.
Yeah, so let's just get something clear, and people can judge for themselves. Your commentary is irrelevant to the fact. I criticized in my pre-stated statements the manifestos. That's what I criticized, the ideology that comes across in those manifestos. People can judge whether I...
Yeah, and you just made these assertions, or what do you call them, theses, that were just claims. Like part of your thesis was like, oh, rationality leads to tyranny. What are you talking about?
Succeeded or not, your commentary has no effect. The point of the matter is, I didn't think that you made a very strong argument to criticize. And also, I know from watching your previous debates, if someone criticizes your position, you say it's my position, not humanism. But exactly. So what's the point in criticizing your position? Because you immediately say it's not humanism if someone criticizes your position. And let me just remind you, the reason why we did minute is because you interrupted, and that's how we were forced down that road.
Why did I interrupt?
People can go back and watch.
Why did I interrupt?
People can go back.
Why
and
did
watch
I
who
interrupt?
First interrupted.
Thanks
That's
for not
why we did
answering.
it.
Okay,
I know.
let's carry on. Frankenstein.
He interrupted because you were basically telling people misrepresenting what Matt was saying. Now, I don't think that's a cause to interrupt. I think you can wait till afterwards and say, hey, they're misrepresenting me. They said this, not my position. They said this, not my position, you know, and things like that. But I don't think Bob would have changed his sort of straw manning stance if you'd said that. But, you know, people have different debate styles. Matt's obviously got a sort of fiery debate style where he jumps in. I don't. Maybe Matt's is better. Sure. I just would have waited till afterwards to say, hey, none of this is my position. So you're not arguing against me right now. You're arguing against somebody else.
For $4.99. Nice poetry, Bob. Was that? I don't even know. Iambic.
Arthur Swinburne.
Yeah. What's that all about? Nice.
He was a humanist poet.
Oh, okay. Nice poetry, Bob. What was that? An iambic pentameter? I'm not sure what that is.
It's a poetic rhythm.
Oh, okay. See, maybe I should know that as somebody who writes lyrics and sings a lot. By now, I feel silly. Ember, Bob, you're a straw man, half straw man. Where do you buy? Well, let's clean up that question a little bit, Ember. He's accusing you of making a straw man. So 1 minute on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, the people can decide whether it's a straw man for themselves. Obviously, Amber's got her opinion, Matt has his opinion, other people can have their opinion. You can read the Humanist Manifestos, you can look at their presuppositions, you can look at their values, you can look at their goals insofar as any goals are stated at all, and you can decide whether the 20 thesis that I offered is an actual criticism of those manifestos. Now, if you read them and you conclude that I failed, then fine, that's your opinion. If you read them and you think that I have made an actual critique of the manifestos, then I've achieved my purpose. But your commentary is irrelevant. The critiques are there. And the critiques basically, I feel, demonstrate.
Yeah, that's where I think it's important to address a couple of the sort of assertions. They're not really critiques because they don't really contain any significant argument as to why rationality is tyranny or why secular humanism leads to these things that he's trying to intimate they did in his 20 let's not forget that it was 20 of them, these assertions just thrown out. He didn't explain why any of them were the case. So I don't kind of blame Matt for not even addressing them because they were just assertions. You know, and he's sort of trying to drum them up as these sort of, you know, slam dunk arguments. They weren't even arguments. He didn't explain how any of this thing says.
Straight a number of flaws and problems with the secular humanist worldview.
Okay.
They're not strawmen.
All right, let's carry on from there. Dan it says for $5, Bob.
It is strawmen. If you're saying that communism and fascism are a form of secular humanism, it is absolutely a strawman. No political commentator would ever say that secular humanism is communism, and certainly not fascism. Like, you are manning them. Absolutely.
If we force women to remain pregnant against their will, what is your solution for the 90 million unwanted children and the traumatized mother? Oh, that's got his hand up over there.
Hey, Bob, I know this question was directed at you, but would you mind if I did it first?
Yeah, go for it.
1 minute on the
This is a really stupid question that atheists asks all the time. What are you going to do with all the unborn? Look, it's primarily Christian organizations that are dealing with the overrun of the unborn. Babies have no problems finding homes. It's older kids that have problems finding homes. So when you come in with something like, oh, if you deny abortion, what are you going to do with all those babies? Those babies are going to find home, and a good chunk of them are going to find home through Christian adoption services. That is a shit argument that atheists trot out all the time.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever used that one. I think that sort of there's some questions about if we ever get artificial wombs, for instance, will that be a burden on the adoption system, and what will be the outcome of that? Will state-raised children have to be a thing? It certainly questions come up, but I don't think it's leverage to say, hey, what are you going to do? You know, we should have abortion because we can't afford to have children. I don't think that's a good argument either. I probably would have been a bit more sort of just a bit less angry about it. But yeah, no, Matt's got a point. It's not a really great argument.
There you go.
Right, well, thank you. And just to build on what Matt said, he's absolutely right.
And again, could I just show that Matt's being charitable? He's saying, hey, I can actually take this one, and I agree with you. It isn't a good argument. There's other arguments for the pro-choice thing, but that isn't really one of them. I would agree.
It is a completely shit argument, because a society is judged by how it treats its weakest and most vulnerable, and the unborn child is amongst the weakest and most vulnerable. Women that don't want to have their pregnancy, I accept that they should not be forced to look after a child that they don't want past the point of birth. In a decent society, we would allow those women to give them up, and we would facilitate them in giving them up, and we would support them in the pregnancy itself, as much support as is needed. Then when the baby is born, we find them families that want to look after them. And Matt, I just want to say thank you for raising awareness about the fact that in the adoption agencies, it is children of the higher ages that are the ones that are struggling. They're the ones that are getting left behind, and it is a straight line from adoption systems to the prison system. And that is why, even though I'll get slagged off for it, I would rather see a child adopted by a loving gay couple than left inside the system.
Why will you get slagged off about it? Why will you get slagged off about it? This is something that should have jumped on. You'll get slagged off about it because Christians would rather see a child go to prison than they would be raised by a gay couple. That's why he'll be slagged off about it. Secular humanists are not going to have a problem with it. If gay people adopting is good for society, then secular humanists are all on board. It's the Christians that are the ones that will slag him off for it. And the reason why is because Christianity doesn't particularly support what's best for those children. It supports what's best for God. And that's the point. So here is a marvelous opportunity to jump in and say, hey, just one thing, he'll get slagged off about it because Christianity isn't best for society. Just saying.
All right, let's carry on from there.
And again, it's really easy for me to say that while I'm sitting here watching it, after the fact, and I've sat through it once live and, are watching it again now. So, it's very easy for me to do that. It's harder to do that in the middle of a debate. I'm keenly aware of this. So,
question supporting Critley says, Matt argues for bodily autonomy. Is there not a de facto guardianship for a living being that can't choose otherwise? Is withdrawing consent to continue pregnancy not immoral most of the time?
So my position on abortion is all about the legality, but as a moral issue, from my standpoint, no, there's nothing immoral about what. So first of all, consent to sex isn't consent to pregnancy; it's consent to the risk of pregnancy.
Right.
And that risk of pregnancy can be abated by a number of different means.
Right.
Consent to pregnancy is not consent to remaining pregnant. There are any number of situations that someone might become pregnant, even as an act of volition, and not wish to remain so. And so, no, withdrawing consent, just like if you go out on a date with somebody, that's not consent to sex. And neither is inviting them back to your place. And neither is making out with them and engaging in some petting. And neither is getting naked and starting to have sex. You can end sex and withdraw consent.
Okay. I've got a slightly different view than Matt. I think that people should be given the choice up until a certain period that the woman can choose to accept responsibility or exercise her rights to her bodily autonomy. So I've got a bit of a different thing. I liken it to, so if you take responsibility for driving someone home, you can't just push them out of the car because you have decided you don't want to take responsibility anymore. But you must be given the choice over whether you do want to take responsibility for that person or say, no, I'm not driving you home. So I take a bit of a different stance that you should be given full opportunity to take that responsibility. But once you have, you can't just give up that responsibility arbitrarily. That you do have to prove that it is detrimental for your well-being in order to give up that responsibility. Now, how that would be done would definitely be sort of medical in nature. But I still think that you should have every opportunity to refuse responsibility to be pregnant. I do think that, and it also begs the question, or it brings up the question: what kind of instance would you be able to refuse? And I think that if you can show that you have your health is being harmed, either physical or mental, that you should be able to use that to negate the responsibility that you had. That's my stance on it. And it is slightly different than Matt's. As he said, he talks more legally, and yes, legally you don't have that responsibility. But that's my thoughts morally anyway.
Consent at any moment. Similarly, you can withdraw consent for the fetus to continue using your womb. Most of the time, in the early stages, that's going to result in the fetus not continuing to live. In some cases, late stages, it is going to result in a delivery by C-section. Then you also can give up your parental rights as well.
It's time. There we go. Right, so let's carry on there, guys. Lots more questions coming in. Barry, $5. I'm confused by Bob. Was this topic supposed to be about Christianity versus secular humanism, or was the topic Matt? Yeah, well,
I would have asked different. I would have said, was this topic just about abortion and parenting rights? Because that's all it has been. It's a frustrating one. It's frustrating.
Well, yeah, give it a minute, I guess.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, the point is, this is why I made a pre-written statement criticizing the values, the goals, insofar as they stated, the ideology and the philosophy, the epistemology of the manifestos. And then, you know, Matt complained about it and said, you didn't argue about my position. But if I argue about Matt's position, he just turns around and he says, well, that's not a representation of all secular humanism. That's just, and I'll let you reply, obviously, that's a representation of my position. Matt gave a particular argument that I did not find particularly strong. Yeah, and I felt that there was more value in this debate to continuing with my own critique.
It wasn't like, okay, so this is, to be honest with you, I think this is a lie. It's an outright lie. He had written something up previously, and it wasn't about what Matt said, and it wasn't anything to do with what Matt, I determined it wasn't very strong. No, you already had it pre-written. You were never intending to address what Matt actually said. You had your thing going from the get-go. Why are you lying? I don't get it. It's just, at least acknowledge what you did. Like, I decided it wasn't particularly strong, so instead no, you didn't. You had this already pre-written when you walked into the debate.
Of the manifestos, and continuing with my own interrogation of abortion as an issue that affects society, that both worldviews should give some guidance on.
No, you didn't argue about any kind of benefit for society. You just were dog whistling for a pro-life movement. That's all you was doing. You weren't interested in discussing how Christianity actually benefits. Like, I would have been more respectful of you, Bob, if you actually went into churches do charity, churches give to the poor. Then you can have a discussion about whether they demand, faithfulness about that. There would have been a discussion there. There would have been something there, right? There would have been well, what do churches do for society that secular places could not? Well, people that go to church are more generous. You can count that. There's a discussion there. Do we need the government to pick up more of the social responsibility for taking care of people that could lead into that? Under secular humanism, would the government be more responsible? Could we make that a thing? Like, there's a lot there to unpack, but we didn't get that. And that's because of you. That wasn't because of Matt. Stop blaming Matt for this. Your opening was really weak. No, your opening was really weak. It was scattered 20 points that you never explained how they apply, and you never explained your position on how Christianity actually makes things better. You just straw-manned secular humanism, called it bad and asserted that it was bad and led to tyranny, and then said, I call it a day. And you were never intending to discuss what Matt introduced with, so don't lie.
So my objection was not to having someone have me defend my position. It's, I made a presentation, my opening. That is, so for those people who've never been in a debate, in a rebuttal, you are not, in a structured, collegiate, scored debate, you are not allowed to bring in new arguments, okay? But I don't care about that. I wish there was less structure. Generally, there is less structure in these debates. But when I present my opening, that's what is the subject of the rebuttal. Not something you heard me say in another debate, not something you heard me say in another context, not something you heard me say on some other show or anything else. That's what I'm objecting to. Him focusing on a position that he thinks I have, but got somewhat wrong, and then wants to respin it and claim that I'm the one redefining when it has nothing to do with the case that I presented. I did mention abortion in there specifically in that context as it is written in the manifesto, for the purpose of acknowledging that it does not go into detail about the when and where, because secular humanism is about constantly understanding and getting better at getting better. Matter of fact, I think that was the closing line of my opening. My objection is not to being held to defend my position. It's the position I presented in this debate was ignored for a pre-written objection to something else. And during what was supposed to be an open discussion, it started with Matt's position on abortion, which is a fine debate, but it ain't this one.
All right, Leaf.
Yeah, he's right. It's fine as a debate topic. Look, Matt probably would have taken that debate. That's the thing. Like, but there's this whole idea of, well, I'm going to get them into a debate and then talk about this other topic. They'll never see it coming. Yeah, because it's really dishonest. Like, you're not being an honest person. Like, Do not bear false witness. You're kind of saying, hey, let's debate about this one thing, and then you're switching the thing under them. It's dishonest.
I'm gonna shut that there. Bob, did you have any thoughts before we move on?
Well, I just think that an interrogation, a critique of the manifesto, since that's what we're here to debate, is a fair critique. And the interrogation in the dialogue is on a topic that
you can critique it, just don't misrepresent it. And if you want to debate somebody, you're debating their position on that subject, not any other position.
Brought up from the manifestos and me asking Matt what his perspective.
Well, you could say, hey, the Southern Baptist Church has this interpretation of the Bible. I'm going to put, or just the Bible in general. It says these things about slavery. It says these things about this. It says these things about that. Let's just say that that is your position. That's what you want implemented. Sure, it would be misrepresenting your position, but he could do it too.
Perspective is in a debate about that. Invites him to restate his position based on the manifestos for further conversation, but instead he just slips straight into his rhetorical device of, well, now you're talking about me, not the manifestos. He could have just responded with, well, this is what the manifesto said, and we could have talked about that, but he just started playing his rhetorical sidestep.
Yeah, it's not playing. When you just a second ago said that you were going to do a critique of the manifesto,
Which
you're not supposed to be here to critique the manifesto, and you're not supposed to be here to critique me. You're supposed to be here to critique what I present. And you didn't ask questions that were designed to critique the manifesto. Your first question was about my personal position on whether or not a 9-month fetus is alive. That is not in the manifesto. That's about me. You have made it about me through this entire debate, right down to your closing. I'm happy to defend my positions, the ones I presented in the opening. But when you pre-write everything, you're not going to get to address what I actually presented.
And he didn't. He didn't present anything about Matt's arguments.
And the reality is that you're here to represent the secular humanist manifesto. If I ask,
well, secular humanism in general, that's what he's there to represent. But he basically summed up how he's representing that in his opening, which you'd never rebutted, Bob. Like, this is the thing. You completely ignored your rebuttal, didn't rebut anything he had to say. He did to you. You just ignored it to him.
For your, yes. And so if I ask for your position, something
My
that
position is not the manifesto.
No, hold on 1 second. Let me finish. In the terms of the debate, you are the representative of the secular humanist. So you are the one that is representing that worldview. So if I ask for your position, I'm asking for the position of the secular humanist. You've been very vocal on this in many different platforms.
No, you're
not. Many different platforms. And I believe that your position is a position that is widely held amongst the secular humanist society, even whether it's the majority. And thus to interrogate that position, I don't think is unfair. But apart from us whinging about it, I'm happy to let people make their own mind up. Your fanboys are going to back you, my fanboys are going to back me, and then other people that are coming in this and looking at it neutral. Yeah,
and that's what he cares about, his fanboys. That's what he cares about. He's dog whistling for the people that follow him. He's dog whistling hard. You know, oh, abortion bad. Don't bother to explain why it's bad for society. I don't. How is it better for society? Then that's the whole point. You're not here to argue about one specific issue. You're here to argue what overall is better for society. So you focusing on one issue makes you look petty, and it makes you look like you have one drum that you're beating that you just can't get off. There's a lot more problems in society than your one little issue that you care so much about. There's poverty, there's hunger, there's lack of water, there's class inequality, there's mass shootings, there's all kinds of problems. Why are we still talking about this? I get it's your pet issue, but you can't demonstrate an ideology is better for society by focusing on the one issue that you really care about, and you're going to ignore all others to the exclusion. You know what? If I was Matt, I would just say, look, this is the problem. He only thinks there's one problem with society and ignores all of the other issues that people have in order to pursue his one issue. It just shows that your ideology is bad for society. It's horrible for society.
Or from a third position, can decide who's marshaled their arguments better.
Yes, but I don't trust that that's going to happen without commenting to clarify, and that's why I clarified.
And that's why I also clarified. Thank you.
All right.
Hooray.
Well, we're all clear now. Clarity clear. It's almost like we made an advert there. Let's carry on, guys. carry on, and I have to scroll. King Josiah of Judah, first super chat. Thanks for that. Bob, what do you have to say about Matt's claims about slavery in Christianity? So, Matt, do you want to take a minute and clarify what your position is on that, and then we'll give you a minute there, Bob.
One more time? Because I heard you say Bob, and I
yeah. So they said to Bob, what do you have to say about Matt's claims about slavery in Christianity? So if you want to take a minute, Matt, to clarify what.
I don't need to say it again. I've done entire videos and multiple debates. The Bible advocates for sanctioned slavery, tells you who to buy, who you can enslave, how long you can keep them, allows you to beat them as long as they don't die within a couple of days. They specifically says it's your property to be passed on to your kids, and it has different rules for Jewish slaves than it does for Goy slaves. That's it.
All right, 1 minute.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It does look, and the slavery isn't as bad as antebellum slavery of the South, but that's like sort of saying, hey, that beating wasn't as bad as the beating Joe got down the road with the lead pipe. Like, it's still bad. This is the thing, and I never understand about the slavery apologists that come out of the Bible camp. It's kind of this, oh, but it wasn't really bad slavery, so it's not really slavery. It is. Oh, but they called them a bed. Yeah, they didn't call them slaves because they didn't have a word for it. I would expect fish don't have a word for bloody water either. Like, it's just, it was part of their society, and it was slavery. You owned people as property. If a slave got gored by a bull, you compensated the owner, not the slave, because the slave was his property. Like, all of this is very well documented, and the apologists make up the most fantastical reasons as to why it wasn't really slavery and they were there voluntarily. Yes, but they were still slaves and they couldn't leave. And yes, they were released after a certain amount of time. They were still slaves for that amount of time, which is better than antebellum slavery, but there were certain conditions that you could pass slaves down to your children and that they would remain with you till the day they died. That is fact, and this apologetics around it is crazy.
Over there to you, Bob. Thoughts on that position there?
Yeah, so it's a total fallacy. He tries to create a straw man, which is the Bible versus secular humanism rather than Christianity.
Oh, Bob's learnt a new word, straw man. Yay, he's learnt a new word.
Versus secular humanism. When slave owners in the southern states of America gave Bibles to their slaves, they redacted them precisely because they were afraid that the Bible might inspire slave revolution.
No, it was because they were treating the slaves worse than what the Bible said they should. Okay, it's because antebellum slavery was particularly bad, and they were sort of treating them worse than the Bible said was allowable. And that's why they edited out those passages, because they were being treated worse.
That clearly tells you that they saw something in the Bible that Matt has missed. Let me try and tell you what that was.
Well, no, yeah, that slaves should be treated in a certain way, that, you know, if you knock out their teeth, they should go free. If you damage an eye, they should go free. Yeah, that's true. It's still slavery. You can't just say, hey, because they omitted the passages in the Bible of how to treat slaves so they could treat them a lot worse, that it's suddenly not slavery. It's still slavery.
It's things like in Philemon, where it says that the slave goes back to his owner not as a slave, but as a brother.
Okay, so Philemon, I'm not sure if Philemon's the correct thing. I thought it was Philemon. But anyway, the whole point about that is that Paul, when writing the letters, basically said, hey, I don't have the right to tell you to release a slave, but Philemon is my brother in Christ. Release him to be, do me a favor and release him, because he is a brother to me, like a brother to me. So he wasn't using any kind of moral judgment to say, hey, slavery is bad, you should release him. What it was kind of nepotism. It was Paul saying, hey, I really like this guy, could you please release him? And he wasn't demanding it and said, I have no right to demand this, but as a brother in Christ, could you release him as a slave? It's not even recorded whether he was released or whether the owner of the slave said, no, he's my property, I'm not releasing him. It's not really recorded. But Paul isn't saying slavery bad. What he's saying is, hey, do a brother a favor. That's what he's saying. And so that sort of shows that slavery was absolutely a part of that time, even though that was the New Testament. That was Paul.
It's the fact that in the scriptures, in Paul's writing, it talks about that there is no.
Okay, Sydney, incorrect. There is distinguishable differences. with antebellum slavery, whatever the master did to the slave was perfectly all right. And in certain situations, the master could easily kill the slave without any ramifications whatsoever. The slave didn't go free after a certain amount of time for any reason. The Jubilee was one instance of 50 years, or 49 years rather, where the slaves would go free. So they didn't have that in the antebellum South. That is not to say that the slavery of the Bible was good. It was a horrible thing, as any slavery is, right? Any slavery is awful. The way that it was practiced, also, if you were a Israelite slave, if you were a Hebrew slave, you would have certain rights that were way above what somebody in the antebellum South would have. And mostly the idea that you go free after 7 years. So yeah, there definitely was a difference. And talking to Dr. Josh Sidney, he will attest, and in his book, Slavery in the Old Testament, he states, yes, there were differences between antebellum slavery and slavery in the near Middle East, circa 1000 to 100 BC kind of thing. Like, there definitely was a difference.
Neither slave nor free in Christ, that they are all the same. The reason why Christianity was so successful in the Roman Empire was because of its radical egalitarian ethic that put slaves and masters and slave owners around the same agape feast and around the same slave table. And so simply quoting passages outside of the New Covenant understanding shows that Matt is being dishonest in his dialogue with Christianity.
Okay, so there was a screen share going on there. I don't think we were able to see it. Was there something?
Sorry, it's just Exodus 21. You can go read it. There's nothing in the Bible that says Exodus 21 was wrong.
Okay.
Oh, so actually, Christ himself said that I've come to set the slaves free, and Isaiah prophesied that when the Messiah comes, that the Messiah would set slaves free. And the reason why Christians have fought against the slave trade for 2,000 years is precisely because we're disciples of Jesus, not of Moses.
Jesus said for slaves to obey their masters, even the cruel ones.
Jesus did not say that.
Oh, sorry, that's Paul. That's Paul.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Sydney. Yeah, you did say BCE. Yeah, no, I get you. I do apologize, mate. I didn't say, I thought you said biblical, and I misread that. So my apologies, mate. Yep, you're right. Yeah, depending on who it was. Like, Roman slaves at some points had more rights than the slaves in the Bible. At sometimes they were treated horrendously. Some of the slaves in Rome lived, had a lot of rights, like the gladiators and stuff. They were slaves, but they were treated incredibly well, almost like heroes and celebrities. So it all depended on where you were, and what culture you were in. So yeah, that is so. But I think there is a distinguishable difference between some of the cultures in BCE and antebellum slaves. I think that some slaves in BC were treated worse than antebellum slaves. Like, for instance, galley slaves that sort of Phoenicia used, that were just chained to an oar, basically. They were probably treated a lot worse than an antebellum slavery.
I got it.
Yes,
I'm sorry to saddle you with the other things that are in your Bible.
Yes,
Jesus never said that slavery was wrong or immoral.
And I'm sorry that you don't understand the Bible or its historical context. Let me just point out to you that Dr. Bart Ehrman, Tom Holland, both point out that the reason why Christianity succeeded was because of the radical, explosive scene of allowing slave owners and slaves to sit at the same table as equals.
Yeah, okay, so they treated slaves a bit better than other places. So what? It doesn't make what they were doing right. Again, you're just sort of saying, hey, this other place did worse, therefore that makes, they beat this guy with a lead pipe, I'm only using a whip. That makes my thing better. So what? It's still wrong.
Christians from antiquity to the present time have fought against slavery and abolished slavery multiple times in multiple places. And this is just something that you like to skip over and ignore because it doesn't suit your argument.
No, I'm sorry, but I'm actually talking about what the Bible says.
Yes, am I?
No, you're actually not. Where does the Bible say?
No, because Christians in all times and places fought against slavery. They did that kind of in spite of what the Bible said, not because of it. Like, the Bible doesn't say to abolish slavery and fight against it, kind of thing. It doesn't say that. It's sort of saying, hey, because Christians fought against slavery, the Bible couldn't sort of have rules on slavery. It does. What are you talking about? Of course it does.
where does the Bible say that slavery is not allowed and is immoral?
Where does the Humanist Manifesto?
Where does the Humanist Manifesto say that?
Yeah, which yeah, I might have missed it. Does it say it? Now,
Promises. Okay, so what?
Well, the Humanist Manifesto says about the rights of humans and the right to bodily autonomy. So you can't have a passage on bodily autonomy, like we have the right to bodily autonomy, and have slavery, which is completely antithetical to it. I probably should have looked this up before. Well, I mean, there is something in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. No one should be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery in the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms, which the Humanist Manifesto endorses the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So, yeah, that's where it is, Bob, which you didn't read it.
Where does it say slavery is immoral?
So the Humanist Manifesto probably doesn't say the words slavery is immoral.
So
the Bible,
the words don't need to be there, do they?
The Bible, the words don't need to be there
Thank you.
unless somewhere else in the manifesto it said who you can enslave, how to enslave them, how much to pay for them, that they become your property. Are you denying what it says in Exodus 21?
Yeah, but what I'm doing is I'm
Are you
framing
denying
it.
what it says in Exodus 21?
Can I answer your question, Matt? Can I answer your question?
I'm waiting.
Thank you. So I'm framing it correctly for you, because what you are doing is
I'm framing it correctly for you.
you are ignoring the fact that in Christianity, paradigmatically, we have a covenantal understanding of Scripture, and you want to throw that out because it suits your argument. This is not a
Yeah, and there's been multiple people have spoken up and said that sort of slave apologetics that Christians are doing are terrible. You're listening to your echo chamber, Bob. And a lot of people, I mean, even people like Praisel accuse us of presentism, which presentism is moral relativity. It's basically saying, hey, they did wrong, but they didn't know any better. We don't blame them for it. We don't say, hey, that's bad what you did because you done bad. It's just that's what they understood at the time. We don't blame them, but at the same time, you can't say that they didn't do slavery because they did.
debate of secular humanism versus Exodus, or secular humanism versus the Bible. This is a debate about secular humanism versus Christianity, which means that unless you're deliberately trying to strawman,
the question was about the Bible, Bob, you ignorant ass. Like, you don't, like, he asked a specific question about the Bible, and you're saying, oh, well, you'll bring up the Bible. No, the question brought up the Bible, Bob. What an idiot. Like, seriously, you've been told, hey, these questions bring things up, address them, and now you've forgotten again or something.
Christianity, you have to include the covenantal system in your interpretation of Scripture. And in the interpretation of...
No, it doesn't have to do anything when it's talking about what's in the Bible. That covenantal system that you're talking about is something that has been interpreted by Christians in order to get away from the whole idea that they have to still do the ridiculous things in the Old Testament. Then why not cut that out of the Bible? Why not cut it out? If the covenant, it doesn't apply anymore, then why were there still slaves in the New Testament? Why was Paul asking Philemon to be set free? Not just telling them, hey, slavery is wrong, you have to set him free. Not, hey, he's my friend and a brother in Christ. Could you go see your way to letting him free on that basis? I think he doesn't really read Philemon, to be honest with you.
Scripture. We see in Isaiah that at the time of the coming of the Messiah, he will set the captives free. Christ claimed that exact prophecy for himself, and that is why for 2,000 years, disciples of Christ have been inspired to fight against slavery, and have done, and have died doing so in their thousands.
The question wasn't what Christians did. The question was what's in the Bible.
Yeah, so I get accused of deciding what portions of the Secular Humanist Manifesto I'm going to stick up for as a matter of convenience, and Bob gets to pick and choose from the Bible as to what he's going to stand up for as a matter of convenience, because Exodus, Leviticus, and elsewhere advocate for slavery, and at no point is there a statement saying slavery is now forbidden, slavery is immoral, thou shalt not enslave your fellow man, free all slaves, never have slaves again. None of those things occur. So what's happening here is you have a very specific set of instructions that permit something, and you take later messages and interpret them in a way that is convenient for you to dismiss what the law says.
So allow me to reply to that, because this is just utter drivel. Anyone who is watching this debate can just Google now whether Christians believe in covenants, and they will see that Christians do. And so it is a legitimate part of the defense, something that Matt wants to skip over because he wants to turn this debate into secular humanism versus the Bible rather than secular humanism versus Christianity. What he forgets to tell you is...
Yeah, but slaves still existed after the new covenant. Why?
Is that Christ himself said I have come to set the captives free. The captives were the...
Did Jesus ever say that? No, in Luke he says he has sent me to announce freedom for prisoners, not slaves. Right.
Slaves, Matt. Now he's also, and I might have missed it. I might have genuinely missed it because there's 3 manifestos to read. I can't remember every single statement.
Okay, so you want to breeze by that really, really, really quickly. And plus the Bible also says, slaves obey your masters, even the cruel and vicious ones. It does say that.
But to my knowledge, I don't remember coming across any statement in the Humanist Manifesto that said that slavery was wrong. But as I argued earlier, humanists support the idea of surrogacy. That seems to be an emerging characteristic.
Okay, topic flick. Like that's when you know somebody's got bad arguments. You're flicking it back to surrogacy. I mean, seriously, is that got anything to do with what you're currently talking about? How do slaves tie in with surrogacy? Are you now going to argue the children that's born out of surrogacy are slaves? What are you talking about, Bob? Like, why are you doing this? This is a red herring is what this is. This is just something to throw down to distract from the fact that he's sort of,
their values, and surrogacy is about treating children like commodities. So no lectures, please, Matt.
Oh, I'll lecture. When Jesus says that he comes to set the captives free, he's talking about in a spiritual sense, those who are captive to slavery. It is not a statement against slavery as a whole. Meanwhile, secular humanism, if you Google and just go through the manifesto, you'll find that to enhance freedom and dignity, that's the 7th one, the individual must experience a full range of civil liberties in all societies. That statement is the antithesis of slavery.
Yeah. How can you have civil liberties surrounded by liberty and slavery? Bob, this is the biggest straw man. Oh, well, it doesn't specifically say slavery. Yeah, but it says liberties. Liberties. How can you advocate for liberty and slavery? Do that one, Bob. Riddle me this. Oh, seriously, dude, what are you doing?
And the word freedom appears over and over and over again in the Humanist Manifesto. So you can pretend that your post hoc reinterpretation of what you think Jesus said somehow overrides what the Bible literally says about slavery, but you can't claim that the Secular Humanist Manifesto in any way could support slavery, as it repeatedly supports freedom and individual autonomy.
Except for the child.
Except for the child. No, it does for child as well. Like, and your willingness, like, years from now, Bob will still be talking about abortion non-stop without covering any other topic. It's like his go-to dog whistle that he does.
No, not a child.
No, sorry. I allowed you to speak without interruption. Allow me to speak without interruption, please.
Well, maybe if you spoke in ways that were
once again, Ryan allows you to interrupt.
You guys have been on a long
what a surprise.
dialogue,
what a surprise.
and it
I
finally
know
came
you're
to a
not
point.
surprised because you're a liar and you're used to getting called out.
People can judge for themselves. Your commentary is immaterial to facts. So allow me to reply.
Your commentary is immaterial to the facts. Yeah, but you're not bringing up facts. You're not bringing up facts. Like, you're using this language, this flowery language. Like, you doing your racehorse now. Oh, it's a proven pedigree. That's not facts, right? It's your spin. It's sophistry on what you think the facts should be. Like, that's the thing. Sort of saying, hey, that children don't have rights under secular humanism. Yes, they do. If you're talking about an embryo or a fetus or something like that, they do have rights. They just don't have the right to use a woman against her wishes. Okay, so this is where not only is what you're talking about not a child, so that's not a fact, okay, that's a child for a start. If you want to get technical, I understand what you're saying. You're not being technical about it, so it's not a fact at all. Number 2, they do have rights. They don't have the rights you want to assign them, which is basically being able to use somebody's body against their will. They don't have that right. But just saying, hey, I don't have some rights doesn't mean I have no rights at all. So you are misleading, and you are being dishonest about that. So this is my problem with Bob. It's this black and white, all or nothing. Oh, well, except where children are concerned, they don't have rights. Yeah, they do. They just don't have the right, like anybody else, they don't have the right to use somebody's body against their will. That's the thing.
The thing is, Christians don't need to take any lectures from the secular humanists. The fact of Christ's teaching and the fact that the earliest Christian community in a society in Rome in which slaves were the common currency of all made masters and slaves equals and states so in the Bible is the very undermining of slavery itself and leads to dignity. Matt is borrowing from a Christian paradigm in the...
Well, yeah, but I mean, in Rome, gladiators were considered above ordinary citizens. They were considered movie stars almost. You know, they were treated incredibly well. That's not necessarily true that you know that they were less valued.
Manifestos for everything that he is saying right now. And the reality is Christians have abolished slavery multiple times in multiple places. In England, it was abolished in the 11th century, even before William Wilberforce. But he hasn't addressed the fact, I don't believe, that whether he believes humanism supports surrogacy and the ethical implications of turning...
Back to surrogacy. This is just a dodge. Like, he doesn't want to talk about any issues but these things that he's drumming on for his followers to jump up and down about. He's utterly transparent, utterly transparent. He's got two issues: abortion, surrogacy, and he will beat that drum till the end of time so his followers can get all mad about it.
Children into commodities within that paradigm.
I don't know if secular humanism supports surrogacy, but wow. Throw your hands up as if you made a point. You didn't make a point. Let me finish my sentence, you smug jack.
Grow up, you child.
No, sir. I'm going to keep calling out your lies and your
petulant little throw up your hand stuff. People can
because
check
you are a
I'm
liar
lying
who's misrepresenting. The Secular Humanist Manifesto does not expressly cover surrogacy, but in
so
the
another
principles
topic
of freedom,
guidance.
and as I pointed out in my discussion, that we begin with maximal freedom and we only limit those freedoms under good reasons, there's no reason that I can see that a secular humanist could limit surrogacy. Nor do I accept your bald-faced assertion. Nor do I accept your bald-faced assertion.
Ryan needs to jump in here. Like, Bob's just interrupting him constantly.
That surrogacy makes children a commodity. Nor do I accept your bald-faced assertion that a fetus is a child.
You just admitted it.
No, I didn't. What delusional fucking thing do you think I said where I admitted what I didn't?
You just said that from your reading of the Humanist Manifesto, you can't see how it would limit the practice of surrogacy.
Correct.
Thank you.
That does not... Wow.
He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand. Like, in order to limit the practice of surrogacy, you would have to demonstrate that the practice of surrogacy is harmful to individuals or the society. And you could do that. That could be a thing, and we would change our minds. That's what secular humanism is all about. But you just asserting this doesn't help, sir. It doesn't help. Because that's all you're doing is making frigging assertions really rapidly, all in a row. But you refuse to actually show how they're harmful. You just say they are. You're just dog whistling for your fans. That's it.
Wow.
I mean, the showmanship doesn't help you win a debate.
Staggering.
The showmanship does not help you win a debate.
Well, that's crazy because your showmanship is on display at all points. Every time anything else comes back up, you're back to abortion, you're back to surrogacy, these two topics. Like, I don't, the arrogance of Bob to sort of say, hey, you're being showmanship. You've been dog whistling this entire time. Oh, and the third one is trans issues that he dog whistles about. That's right.
Oh, yes, it does, by the way, especially when you're faced with a liar who
well,
misrepresents what you say.
Maybe if someone is naive, possibly.
All right, let's carry into the next question there, guys. Let's see here as we go up. And thanks for all your super chats, everybody. I know it's been super lively and we're having a good conversation, good time, I think, getting through these.
Can I just as a point of order, how much longer do we have? Sorry.
Well, if we can keep it to the 1 minute per side and not mention the other person, and yeah, we'll be able to get through them a lot quicker. So we got quite a few more.
No, this is a practical question because I live with other people.
Oh,
and it's getting late over here in the UK.
Oh, no, it's all good.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be if we could have had this debate earlier, I could go on for hours more, but like...
well, how about you shut up and then we can continue onwards and get it over and done with? Like, seriously. Just ask how long. Oh, well, you know, it'll be over in a bit. Seriously, just shut up now. Bob, if you want to end it, stop talking.
There is a practical concern.
I'm trying to wrap it up whenever.
Yeah, let's carry on with questions.
Shall we say another 15 minutes?
Well, let's
at most, yeah.
Yeah, let's. I'll set 30-second timers.
At most, yeah. No, Matt just is like, yeah, I'm over this. Yeah, don't blame him.
Just remind you guys when we're getting to that point with these questions. Next one, Sparky Steve for 10 euros. Bob, your whole religion fails when you can have the most evil serial killers on death row repent their sins and meet Jesus in heaven. Other than strawmanning Matt, did you even say anything? 30 seconds there.
Yeah, so Christianity succeeds within its own terms when it can turn sinners into saints. So if it can turn murderers into saints, then it succeeds.
Saints like Mother Teresa, who was awful for for people suffering palliative care. Suffering that she caused was incredible. Saints like that. See, that's the thing. Like, you know, who's to say that murderer isn't a saint after they repent? I mean, yeah, it's way too late to make any effect on society, but they're still a saint. Okay, they go to heaven. They get a reward. Meanwhile, society suffers.
That's not a failure. That is a success. There are examples of murderers on death row who've become Christian and become, in the end, in the last days, very noble human beings. That's not a failure. That's a success.
That's a failure because they damage society on their way out. I don't. How does that benefit society? Because this isn't about whether heaven is better or the people are better or anything like that. This is about whether society benefits. Like, Bob doesn't seem to know what the debate is about. Like, seriously. Okay, a bunch of people who murder, repent and become Christian on their deathbeds and say, hey, we're saved because we're now Christian. How does that help society?
And I just deny flat out the commentary made by Matt's supporters that I'm strawmanning. I'm just not. I'm arguing with the.
Yeah, you are, because you've been corrected multiple times on what his position is, and you've proceeded to repeat the incorrect position, the one that benefits you, the weaker position, which he isn't actually saying. I don't understand why Christians don't understand what a straw man is. It's baffling to me.
Arguments that are made by humanists from Manifesto.
All right, next one coming in. Sparky Steve again. Thanks for your super chat. Bob, you had a great chance here to platform yourself and intellectually test yourself against the best. Your actions tonight, however, speak volumes. 30 seconds there.
Again, this is just commentary. Like that.
Yeah, it's commentary. They paid to have their comment read out. It's literally a super chat. It's a comment that is read out. You colossal idiot. Seriously, why you don't understand the format of the show you're going on just speaks arrogance to me. Like, you could have just watched one episode or familiarized yourself in some way with the show that you were going on. And yeah, I got disagreements with how they run the show, but that's the show. It's like going on to Wheel of Fortune and going, well, nobody told me I had to spin the wheel and then guess numbers, guess letters. What are you talking about? Why do I have to do that? That's the frigging show. Ugh.
It's not even a question. That was just commentary. And the reality is that if, modern day debate wants to put up commentary without question, then, what can I do? Fanboys are going to be fanboys, and they're going to back Matt no matter what he says. I can't convince a fanboy. This is just commentary.
Well, I don't think you can really convince anybody, Bob. I mean, yeah, it's commentary.
Next one is from Why Is It? Gave us $19.99. Thank you so much for that. There's no question attached to it, so we'll carry on. Dan it for $5. Why does God have an issue with murdering men, women, children, and unborn? Answering, reflecting on the flood.
So I don't believe that the flood should be taken literally. That's not how I read it. It's not how many of the church fathers read it. It's a typology of Christ talking about.
Yeah, as soon as somebody says typology, I know that they're a fundamentalist Christian. Nobody else uses typology. Maybe they do in academic circles. I don't know. But this whole idea, well, if the flood didn't happen, like, why should we believe any of the stuff in the Bible? I think he's got problems there.
The fact that Christ is the one by which we save ourselves from judgment. But the reality, I mean, what can you say in 30 seconds? But the reality is that in terms of history, history is complicated. That's all I can say in the little time that I've got, I'm afraid.
All right.
For clarity, just in case this comes up, you're saying that the flood and the ark didn't happen and is a metaphor for Christ.
I'm saying that I don't read it as literal as, say, some Southern fundamentalist Baptist might have read it.
Alrighty. Next one coming in from Kanba. Matt, when is your next debate with someone who is of good faith? We'll just clean that up a bit. Thanks for your first super chat.
Well, it wasn't the next one. I'll tell you that right now. Like, if anybody saw the next one, the next one was even worse. Matt definitely rage quit. I don't know whose idea it was to have Howard Stirrup debate Matt, but I feel sorry for Matt, and I am so glad it happened, because seriously, it was an absolute debacle. I can only feel for Matt, and being in that position against Howard, who is, let's be real, he is batshit crazy. Like, seriously, I cannot imagine anybody that has baffled me more than that man. I won't debate him anymore. I think I've taken him on twice, and it was just like they said, hey, we'll keep him on topic next time. You cannot keep that man on topic. He will go off in all directions. So no, not anytime soon. We now know. Actually, I did want to do a poll as well. So
Let's not dignify that. I have no idea.
Me too. I'm
I
trying
can't
to.
predict the future.
All right. Cripply, $5. Matt.
but we are in the future, and we know the answer to that question, don't we? Now we know that not anytime soon, not in the next week. That's what I can say about this.
Can you give an advancement or value that you claim comes from secular humanism and was not within Christianity before? 30 seconds.
That there's no God over me. That as a human, my primary focus is me. That principle is antithetical to Christianity, to Islam, to Judaism, to all of these things where God is first. Now, if there is a God, cool. We can work on that. But that principle, and I can't say that this came from secular humanism because there's a whole lot of philosophical lines that led to the first Humanist Manifesto and the ones that arrived after that. So I can't say that it began with there. But since your question was didn't come from Christianity, the fact that I am not beneath a God, it didn't come from Christianity for sure.
All right. So next one coming in. Sorry, Jay, we're going to skip on here and get some of the questions that are a little bit more applicable. That one's also not really great, and I like that we can do that. Sorry.
I probably should have kept a sort of no comment or don't care a kind of response, but vote wherever you want. That's fine.
Sorry about that. Yeshua the King asks, can you guys shake hands after? I don't know if they could do that through the internet.
Kind of long distance.
Just for the record, I'd be happy to shake your hand, Matt. As much as you may or may not appreciate the way this debate has gone, I have no hard feelings or animosity towards you at all.
Me neither. And I've shook hands, I didn't shake hands with Daniel.
I don't blame
didn't
you.
even barely look at Daniel. I wouldn't want to touch Daniel with a 10-foot pole. But almost everybody, Cliff Connectley and I got really hot in the last debate, and we're still friendly and laugh and have times afterwards. You guys got to remember, despite what some people think, because I see all over the chat, Matt won, Bob won, Matt won. This isn't a fucking WWE event. It's supposed to be about presenting ideas. Now, I got my complaints and concerns, but I don't look at any of these as a win-lose, except for the Daniel one. I whipped his ass.
Well, yeah, I agree. I like what Matt's saying here. I do. Thanks. I do like what Matt's saying here. It's kind of, there's no win or lose in debate. That's not what it's for. It's for examining ideas and examining differences and examining all of this stuff. I really, I don't know. I dislike the debate bro attitude as well. I really do. I've got massive problems with it. I do dislike it. Give me 1 second. I've had something sent to me by the wonderful Hive Science that I have to share. There we go. Bet you weren't ready for that. You can thank Bree for that one. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. You know what I mean? Just gorgeous. So congratulations for Matt Powell, who is absolutely dreadful. I like Bob more than Matt Powell. I'll give you the tip right now. But congratulations to Matt Powell for being the most horrible liar on the face of the planet and gets the Crocodile Award for misrepresentation of scientific facts. Congratulations, Matt Powell. I hope you get a bad rash and forever regret your decisions. And that was donated by Hive Science, who I will link in the chat, because Bree is amazing. Have I broken this? I broke my thing. I think I broke my thing. Oh no, I broke my thing.
But I don't look at any of these as a win-lose.
There we go.
Except for the Daniel one. I whipped his ass.
Donkey Kong with a bongo over there. All right.
Okay, and the other exception is when Howard's involved, everybody loses. Everybody loses.
So, cute question from Matt. Do you have any grounding for any objective moral standards?
No, and neither does anybody else, as far as I can tell. The foundation of morals, even from a secular humanist perspective, the foundation is ultimately subjective, but it allows you to make objective evaluations with respect to that, just like the rules of chess are arbitrary, but we can tell what a good move is and what a good move isn't. The biggest problem that I see is that on morals, there's not a single objection to secular morality that is in any way solved by appealing to a god. This divine command theory is still just an assertion until some god shows up and says, yes, this is actually what is moral.
All right. Next one coming in 30 seconds from T-Will. We're just going to make this a little shorter one there, Bob. Sorry, T-Will. It says, Bob, how do you determine which parts of the Bible are true?
Christ is our paradigm. We use Christ and we use the teachings of the apostles.
No, you don't use Christ. You use your interpretation of Christ through the book. That's the difference. Like, it's not like you've got a direct line to what the man said. He never wrote down anything. Even if you can say that they were written, the Gospels were written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which you can't. Christ didn't do anything in them. They're apparently what he said according to some other people and interpreted by you. Yeah, it well done.
And the teaching of the apostles that is embodied within the
Uh-oh, did I break my thing? I broke my thing again. Live.
Actually, what is moral?
All right, next one coming in 30 seconds from T. Will.
Why is it broken? Uh-oh. Okay, let me reboot this. Just one.
Parts of the Bible are true.
Christ is our paradigm. We use Christ and we use the teachings of the apostles, and the teaching of the apostles that is embodied within the living, breathing community of the church. So basically, Christ fulfills the law. And
I think God smote my browser. I'm sorry.
it's in his fulfillment of the law. There's a whole series of completions that lays things to rest. And then you look at things that are descriptive and prescriptive, and things that are descriptive, like, for example, the wars in the Old Testament. Okay,
sorry about that.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get
30
through.
seconds is difficult for me.
It is. We're trying to get through as many of them as we can. So let me shush and continue. Vesper says humanist philosophy centers around the principle of reciprocity found within the Golden Rule. Do you take umbrage with that, Bob, of Speaker's Corner? So 30 seconds.
No, one of the key points that I made in my 20 criticisms of the Humanist manifestos is that they're constantly borrowing from Christianity. The humanist is just a goldfish in a Christian bowl. They're using Christianity all the time to create values, to have goals, to have assessments of outcomes, and so on. So no, I don't take umbrage.
Wow. All right. My thing is mucking up. I do apologize, everybody. Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna close this down, and I'll restart it because that is not working to my satisfaction. I'm afraid. I do apologize, everybody. Slight technical issues. I'm going to blame Bree because she sent me that thing which broke my browser. Apparently, Matt Powell breaks everything. Apparently. Yeah. That's another reason to hate Matt Powell. All right. Just another reason, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm just trying to find where I left off. Okay. Sorry, my apologies. Slight technical issues caused by Matt Powell and the Crocoduck Award. It's just something you've got to contend with when Matt Powell sort of takes the stage. Yeah, it is being wonky, Samami. I gotcha.
Sorry, T. Will. It says, Bob, how do you determine which parts of the Bible are true?
Christ is our paradigm. We use Christ and we use the teachings of the apostles, and the teaching of the apostles that is embodied within the living, breathing community of the church. So basically, Christ fulfills the law, and it's in his fulfillment of the law. There's a whole series of completions that lays things to rest. And then you look at things that are descriptive and prescriptive, and things that are descriptive.
Regia's coming through with a super chat. Hey, not Dr. T, not down under, but can super chat. Yeah, I'm not aware of any issues, mate. I don't know, but thank you so much, Reggie. I appreciate it for $5 US. No idea. Maybe a card's been declined, Dr. Tap. Look, no. Don't look. To be honest with you, you can cover it with me. I just don't take bribes to do so, Tap. Like, don't pay me. Like, I should be paying you to cover Howard. Quite frankly, that's That's the truth of the matter is that anybody who has to cover Howard Stirrup should be paid. I'm annoyed I wasn't paid for debating Howard, quite frankly, but you know, that's life. That's life. So yeah, no, you're more than welcome to do it with me. I just don't pay me for it. Come on now. Come on.
Descriptive, like for example, the wars in the Old Testament. Okay,
sorry about that.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to get
30
through
seconds is difficult for me.
It is. We're trying to get through as many of them as we can. So let me shush and continue. Vesper says humanist philosophy centers around the principle of reciprocity found within the Golden Rule. Do you take umbrage with that, Bob, of Speaker's Corner? So 30 seconds.
No, one of the key points that I made in my 20 criticisms of the Humanist Manifestos is that they're constantly borrowing from Christianity.
Golden Rule wasn't originally in Christianity. It didn't start with Christianity. That's the thing. Golden Rule existed in Egyptian culture way before it was in the Bible. Don't think that the Golden Rule and it's flourished just about everywhere. It's in Hinduism. It's in a whole load of other things. Like, yeah.
Christianity. The humanist is just a goldfish in a Christian bowl. They're using Christianity all the time to create values, to have goals, to have assessments of outcomes, and so on. So no, I don't take umbrage.
No, as I said, we'll take anything that works. That's the beauty of it. Anything that works, anything that's good for humans, we'll take. That's fine. We don't care where it comes from. It could come from Satanism. I think Satanism has some really good ideas on never harming children. I think that's valued as well. Whereas Christianity doesn't. Christianity is sort of spare the rod, spoil the child, which we know is very harmful for children. So, you know.
Take umbrage. That's all.
All right.
In 3 seconds, the ethics of reciprocity isn't unique or tied to Christianity, and Jesus' version is one of the weaker ones.
Next one coming in from Emery King. Bob said that LGBTQ people adopting is the lesser of two evils versus the child going into the system. How is adoption in this case evil, Bob? And then they said,
in the context that the lesser of two evils, the optimum is always to place a child in a heterosexual couple, a stable marriage of a heterosexual couple. That would be the optimum. Why? Because children need male and female guidance in their life. They need male and female energy in their life. And if one is missing, then there is a deficiency.
Male and female energy in their life. What the hell is this man talking about? Is this some new particle we've just discovered? Maybe I need Dr. T on this one as well. Maybe I need the tap weasel on this one. Has there been a new form of energy discovered? What the hell is this man talking about? I don't know. Male and female. Is this spirit science? Have we gotten to spirit science? I don't. Look, people need good role models, right? They do. And having male and female role models is good, but having non-binary role models is good. Having a wide array of role models is a very good thing. And that's why we sort of say, hey, it takes a village. But this idea that you need one father and one mother, and that is the only way you can become a good person, is so demonstrably untrue. I think having godparents, having aunts, uncles, cousins, people you can look up to, people that you know act in a way that you would like to act. A boss can be a good role model. A childcare worker can be a good role model. A teacher can be a good role model. We have these role models. You're trying to say, hey, the only place that comes from has to be the parents. And yes, the parents have a large impact on it, but we can achieve that without having just one nuclear family with one father and one mother. It can be done.
And that's why it's the lesser of two evils.
What if it's a heterosexual Islamic couple that's part of a terrorist organization? Is that still better than a gay couple?
Good point.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be better.
all right.
Wouldn't argue that it was right.
Yeah, and pinned him on it. Yep. Just having a one mother, one father, both biological, heterosexual, not necessarily makes a good role model. There's more to it than that. Fantastic point from Matt.
All right, sorry about that. So next one coming in, Disciple Day, off topic. How can Christians call terrorists in Israel who kill Jews evil, yet call a God who burns those same ones for all eternity good?
Because the attacks by Hezbollah on Israelites are attacking non-combatants, which is
It's Hamas, dude. You don't know anything about the situation. It's Hamas. And the Israeli military, the IDF, is firing back, killing more civilians and children and things like that. The situation is absolutely terrible. And just because Hamas attacked and killed some civilians, and that's wrong, it's horrible, it's awful, it's terrorism, doesn't mean that killing civilians on the other side is a good thing. It doesn't make it better. And this is the sort of, look, I really feel for the civilians in this. Like, it's always the civilians in any war that always have it worse. And it's heartbreaking.
Which is against the Christian principle of just war, whereas those that are in hell are there because they do that which deserves it, in that they insult the honor of God and that they'll continue to sin in hell.
They insult the honor of God, so burn them alive.
And so they continue to be worthy of their punishment.
Yeah, we were just talking about the golden rule, Bree. You're absolutely right. That deserves a show and tell. Yes, we were just talking about do unto others. Unless they insult the honor of God, and then screw them, right?
Right. Matt, you look like you might have a thought there. Did you want to carry on, or?
No, let's not slow it down. That's just a weird question.
Okay. I saw you kind of hanging back for a second there.
Well, it's a weird answer as well. Let's not forget that, Matt. It is a weird answer. Like, oh, but these people have insulted the honor of God, so they deserve exactly what they get. I mean, come on, that's a weird answer as well. Why does an omnipotent God really worry about his honor? You know, like some insecure, juvenile. Oh, someone insulted me. I better set his pants on fire. What are you talking about? I don't.
No insults, I promise. LGBT youth account for half of the homeless youth, while the churches that vilify them make billions of dollars, pay no taxes, and then cry persecution when they can't hurt others and get away with it. It's kind of more of a declaration. Did you have thoughts on that for 30 seconds, or carry on?
Yeah, and the groups that are helping the homeless the most are Christians. We pile millions upon millions in helping the homeless. Some charities do it better than others, I grant that. And Christians have a consistent concern for the homeless and the destitute. I mean, I've got nothing to be...
Well, Christians have a concern for Christians that are homeless and destitute, or people that they can convert to Christianity by use of preaching and things. Multiple studies have shown that Christians are more generous in their in-group, people that they see as part of their group, and they're less generous of people of the out group. So Christians will try to make people listen to prayer, or excuse me, listen to a sermon or participate in prayer. If someone is Muslim and says, hey, I don't want to do that, Christians don't have a lot of charity for them, and that's the problem.
Got nothing to be embarrassed about by our record in helping the homeless, and therefore that means if the stats are right, we're helping a great number of people from the LGBT community. So I'm not sure why that's a criticism.
Although when it comes to helping the homeless, both humanists at work and atheists helping the homeless will be out offering supplies and food to the homeless, at least here in Austin, where I can go witness and watch, and not holding sandwiches hostage until after someone has heard a sermon. And while Christians do massive amounts for the homeless, the way they go about it is not as good as it could be, just to help people. And the most common question we get is, what church are you with? And following that is, wow, you're just going to give me this? Yeah, because we care about people and not proselytizing.
I think that's a bit of a trope and a bit of a characterization of the reality.
No, that's true. That's been my experience as well. Homeless people are expected to listen to something for their handout.
Actually, as someone who's worked with Christian charities helping the homeless, we don't. Well, here we go again with the interruption. The reality is that Christians go out there. I've known loads of Christian organisations that go out there. They don't give sermons all the time. I mean, whichever groups you're talking about, I don't know. But
you could come here and find out. That's what I'm saying.
I suspect that humanists are just doing it because they want to try and prove to themselves that they're as good as Christians, and that's why they.
Wow, what an asshole!
Wow, yeah, that is not cool, dude. Oh, they're only being generous because they're just trying to prove they're as good as the Christians. Like, how egotistical do you have to be when somebody is out there helping the homeless, kind of thing? Like, seriously.
That's an absolute asshole statement. That is the most prickish statement you've made in the entire thing, and it tells everything about you. But here we are talking about helping people in need, and my experience is different. I sat there and watched the church services down and you're going to start.
All right, you guys are both muted to the live stream right now. So
you are an absolute bigot, and nobody wants to look like you.
Just as good as the Christians. The fact that they ask you,
the Christians aren't good. You're not good.
The fact that
you're not good. No one is good. No, not one. Can follow your own fucking religion.
All right. So when you guys were wondering earlier,
yeah. So there's with a breakdown of all of it. Yeah. So yeah, it's like this comment, and yeah, he wanted to make him mad. He's like, oh, you're just pretending to be good so you can compare yourself to the Christians. What an arrogant statement to make. What an arrogant statement. Like, oh, you're just good because we're being good and you just want to be as good as us. Like, come on, dude. Seriously? You think that the only reason people are out there giving their time is so they can feel like they're approaching you. What an arrogant thing to say.
Were wondering earlier in the chat while we moved into muted rounds. These guys, they can get pretty excited and have a lot to say. We got to try to wrap up our Q&A here, guys. I know
We're wrapping it up. I'm done.
all right, excellent. Yeah, sorry guys. It looks like we're gotten to the end of our time, I think. So thanks for coming out to Modern Day Debate. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to answer your question. There's so many of them. You know, we're definitely going to be back later on this evening for debate Aaron versus Kyle. So set your notifier for that. And once again, check out the link in the description for tickets to the live event coming up here in Dallas. You won't want to miss that. And we also have our crowd fund there. So once again, big round of virtual applause. Like I said, no matter what you hear here, these guys both said they'd shake each other's hands. So we're gonna clear on out of here, guys. But thanks for coming out, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Okay, so that's the debate, but we do have a bonus section. You didn't expect this, did you? Bonus section where the mic is still left hot for the after show comments of Bob.
He interrupted me, and I do recognize, and I want to say,
I want to find the start of this.
Silenced me. I felt.
Once again, big round of virtual. We're gonna clear on out of here, guys. But thanks for coming out, and we'll see you next time. Cheers. Boy, you guys are a lively bunch. Well, thanks for coming out, guys. Yeah,
Thank you
we
very
had to
much.
wrap up. Well, I was gonna say we
Ryan.
actually ended up going a little longer, but thanks, Matt, and we'll see you in a few weeks, I guess.
Yep. Later.
Cheers, bud.
Thank you very much, Matt. Well, he's gone. You look after yourself, Ryan. And I just want to say, bro, I felt I had to.
Oh, you know, it always like anything that starts with bro is going to go really badly with the person talking. Now, this is a hot mic. They think they've ended. Okay, so this is the bonus section. It's great. You know what? This entire time, this is what I've been looking forward to. It's great. It's fantastic. Oh, Dr. Tap Weasel, member for 6 months. Thank you, and I hope you're enjoying the emotes and stuff. I do have to come up with some more. I'll do it. Like I'll do something. I don't know what I'm doing. I've often intimated this. Why won't YouTube let me gift memberships? One exclamation mark. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they've decided that I've had enough attention. I don't know. Maybe it's a safety thing, like not let being YouTube micro celebrity go to my head. I don't know. Maybe it's for the best. But you'd probably have to ask YouTube about that. I'm sorry. I don't know how it really even works. It just does it. So I've got no idea. That is a hot mic, yes, and it will continue. So, you know, this is great.
To call you out on stuff because I took umbrage at the fact that you silenced me.
Oh, there's the umbrage again. There's the umbrage. Oh, thank you so much, Reggie. I was gifted 5 Mark Reed memberships. Yep, so grab your memberships. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Regis, much love, man. Thank you.
When I interrupted Matt, that was probably the right thing to do, but you didn't silence Matt when he interrupted me. And I do recognize, and I want to say, I do recognize that I feel as the debate went on, the policing became fairer. So for what it's worth.
Well,
yeah. So as it went on, it became fairer. I approve of your fairness now. Like, come on, dude. Seriously? You're here bitching about his moderation, like, and then you're like, oh, but as it went on, it got fairer in my judged opinion. Dude, you're one of the
well, I was gonna say I did my best to try to make sure that nobody would be confused about the fact that I'm not, you know, when I muted you earlier, it wasn't that I was being biased in any way. If you go back and watch the debate, you know, I would definitely push back on you on that point. If you know,
you will. Did he put it up on his channel? Like when I last checked, he didn't have it on his channel. What's this guy's name? Bob Speaker's Corner. Bob of Speaker's Corner. Well, he hasn't put it on his channel. Oh no, he's put his reflections of it on his channel. Like, so, oh, here are my reflections on it. But he hasn't actually put the debate up on his channel. So why would somebody put the reflections and your review of it on your channel, but not the actual debate? You know what? I've probably got to watch that. I'm going to add it to my watch later list. I'd love to see how Bob appraises his own performance, kind of thing. I am not afraid to debate Howard Stirrup. I am terrified to debate Howard Stirrup because Howard makes my brain cells curl up and die. I'm absolutely terrified I'm afraid of ending up a drooling vegetable. I'm afraid that Howard's insanity is contagious. How dare you? How dare you insult such a noble creature? How dare you?
You asked a question, and Lily said, "What I want to ask you, Matt." You'd ask the question, and he'd start to respond to it, and then you cut him off. So that was where it was a little bit different than somebody just being like, "No, I didn't say that." You know, if you inject and you just say something like, "No, that's not what I mean," I'm probably not going to go, "Oh, Bob, you're on mute now." You know what I mean? Like if you just had
maybe I wasn't clear about the rules, but anyway, I mean, I don't take any of it personally.
Maybe you weren't clear about the rules. You're objecting to people's super chats, dude. You have no idea.
And you know, if I go over the debate and I say it like you say, I'll be happy.
Oh my.
All right, so that's where Ryan has realized he's still hot micing, and so he cuts it off like, yeah. So that's the Bob after the debate complains about the moderation, but gives him a little bit of a compliment because he doesn't want to seem like an ass. Bob, you're still an ass. I'm really sorry, mate, but come on, dude. But thank you so much. So that's it. That's the bonus section of Bob complaining after the debate, which I just had to share with you because it's so good. Oh, how did my poll go? I've completely ignored the poll. I know. Oh, okay. So that's a 21 vote. Yeah, okay. That's a poll. That's a poll. So next week we will do that. I promise I'll do that, even though it will cost us all brain cells. It will drive half of us to madness. And if you do want Dr. Tap, I'm more than happy for you to come in. Oh, that's a clear yes, absolutely. Look, I'm just a whore for polls, quite frankly. I got to admit, you all know it. Like, let's just say it. You will join me. Okay, yeah. All good. Yeah. It sounds fantastic. Yes. Okay, we'll book it up. So 9:30 next week. We will be doing a debate dissection on Matt Dillahunty versus Howard Stirrup. And again, if you haven't seen Howard, it is not just an experience, it is a surreal experience that you cannot believe has happened. It's so crazy. But look, I'm a sucker for polls. And don't forget that tomorrow night I will be appearing on Bad Sight Sunday with the delightful Maya Atkinson and possibly Dr. Tap. I don't know who's on it. I haven't watched the video that we're reviewing in question. I think I do just want to let it slap me in the face, sort of, gratuitously slap me in the face, and get like a first react kind of thing, because everything that they put on is just bafflingly strange. So in order to preserve my thing, I'll link the thing itself. I'll link it itself. But it is on Maya's, and I will link Maya's as well because she does fantastic stuff. And I really love it when I'm sitting in chat, just bewildered at what's going on. It's a delightful feeling. Oh, I'm in for a treat. Oh, thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate it. I thank you so much. And that's Maya's channel. Do give her some love. She is doing fantastic work over there. So I really enjoy that channel personally, just as a place to go. Really nice people, really fun times, really lighthearted. We don't get into all of the really deep philosophical stuff. We just have a laugh at some obviously ridiculous stuff. So I'm going to pin that. Thank you so much, everybody. I've had a blast. This was actually great, and I'm so glad I got to share this with you because it was an absolute train wreck into a dumpster fire, and it just, yeah. And next week will be even worse. So, but yes, tomorrow join me, won't you? It'll be fun. The people on are absolutely wonderful, and I can't speak highly enough of them. I think I might do my banners, and I haven't. I'll need to update this again because people are amazing, like Dr. Tapioca, who sent in some gifted memberships, and Regios, who sent in some gifted memberships. And I want to thank you, Hooligan, for doing gifted memberships, Aspor for the super chat, Robin for the super chat, Aussie Gold, did their 3-month chat, and Tapioca Weasel for the 6-month chat, and of course Regios, who sent in a super chat as well. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. I had a blast. Yeah, do take care. And don't forget to be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. I think that we've all, and Matt's got a point. We've all got to live together. A bit of charity, a bit of sort of generosity, a bit of kindness wouldn't go astray. And sort of, I don't really see any other way we're going to live with each other in relative comfort and flourishing than sort of doing what's best for everybody, and for individuals have individual rights and individual things. I was sent a link. I did put it in chat. Is it not coming through? Is it not? Have I got no chat rights in my own chat? Is that what's going on? Oh, no, that's the video that I'm doing. No, sorry, I've linked the wrong thing. I'm stupid. I'm incredibly silly. That's not what I meant to do. That's not what I meant to do. Take that back. Yeah, just use the link to Maya. Which one is the bad science thing? I'm not 100% sure. Maya and Rion. But isn't that in the morning? No, that's in the afternoon, Bree. I get what you're saying, but ours is at night, so yours is in the afternoon. So it looks like Maya's got a big day ahead of her. So she's doing Hive Science with Rion, and then she's doing Bad Science Sunday. Yeah, I know. I really appreciate my mods. But yeah, do take care, everybody. I'll end the stream. Much love. Actually, just before I go, is anybody else streaming? If you do want to continue, I can probably find somewhere to send you. I mean, it won't be great, but I'll it'll be fine. Not really, but that's okay. Well, do take care, everybody, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.